live. Going live. Going live. You're live.
You're now live. This looks like an excellent time to insert ads.
For a moment there, I was just like, actually, you know what? Let's commit to the bit. But also, I won't, because we'll make about 2p on it, so who cares?
Because it will be funny. You've got to commit to the bit.
All right, I will then. I'm doing it. Bam.
Engage your inner millennial.
Yep. There is
Do
now
it
an
for the
advert.
bit.
If you don't have Premiere or an ad blocker, you're now in an advert. So have fun, everyone.
There are also 0 views.
Yeah, probably. Oh, there's people here. There's people here. 10 people, just because last week's show. I guess it would be too strong to say last week's show sucked, but let's face it, neither of us were high energy last week. I think that's putting it lightly. And the one comment on last week's video was, you can tell that Graham just wants to go half an hour before the end of the stream. And I was just like, yeah, pretty much. I was so clocked out last week, it was untrue, you know? Actually missed last week. You didn't miss much, Dealcar, to be honest. Both of us were still sick and low energy, and we were just like, yeah, let's try and fix this controller or something, and that didn't really go.
I thought the first half was fine.
Yeah, the first half was fine.
Kind of...
We then just, it just petered out, and it got to the point where I'm just like, oh my god, this is not going to plan, and we're kind of just stuck here now, you know. So yeah, no party hats. No, I didn't think of that. I would have bought some party favors had I thought of it. I'm going to turn the heater down. That's a bit warm. There we go. I will tweak that along the way. Last week though, we kind of just sat here in the cold, so I'm just like, no, I'm actually going to have the heater on this week as a treat.
I'm going to make use of.
Yeah.
I have the technology.
Yes. Yeah. The controller did get fixed though, as an FYI.
Oh, good. Did you just get a new stick?
I did order more modules. However, I think the problem was not that the module was busted, but the replacement thumbsticks were not pressing down far enough. They were just too stiff. And I think that was actually the problem. So I put the old ones on and it was fine. It still required me to like disassemble it and stuff to do that. Yeah. But after I put the old sticks on, it was recentering properly. And when I checked on the tester and stuff, it was zeroing out and everything. I was like, oh yeah, no, it is actually fine. It's just the replacement thumbstick was not sitting low enough. So by the time it was all screwed together and everything flattened down, it was catching.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did also that part of the frame that was broken to hold the rumble motor. Yeah. I glued that all on and stuff as well. So yeah, it did get done. So yeah. I also took apart that Elite controller as well.
Yes.
And I didn't video that just because also it's still in pieces because the customer was just like, I'm not sure if I want to pay the amount it's going to cost to fix that. I'll get back to you. And they haven't gotten back to me. However, yeah, I discovered the Elite controller is, it is possible to disassemble. It's not as bad as I thought, but it's got a couple of horrifying bits on it. The thumbsticks for the Elite controller, they have to unscrew from the module, and they have vicious Loctite on them that is so vicious that if you try and turn it, you will just break the module. So you have to heat gun the metal thumbstick to heat the Loctite, and then it will break free when you unscrew it with a pair of pliers. So I'm just like, okay. So it's just, so I'm sort of on the, and I did it successfully. But also I'm sort of the mindset of like, oh, I know how to do these, but I don't think I'm going to accept them for a repair. So yeah, it's just I think we'll take a pass on that. Unless the customer is just like, yes, I'm willing to pay £70 to fix this because that's still cheaper than a new one. Yeah. You know, it ain't going to be a cheap repair for the hassle it is, as far as I'm concerned. Especially because if you cock it up, you've got to replace the module. And you, like if it breaks when you try and unscrew the thumbstick, which you have to do to disassemble it, you will have broken the module, and now you have to replace the module regardless of what else you were doing in the controller, kind of thing. You know, so So yes. Not even a tree. The tree's out the front. I'm not going to have 2 trees. I guess we could have dragged it out here just for the podcast. That would have been kind of funny, but also...
Just on the desk.
We could have just had it there and just us leaning around it to talk. That would have been a funny bit. That would have been very on brand, I think. But no, there is no tree. So yeah. All right. I'll do this super chat and then I'll go back up the chat again. Mike Visions, thank you very much for the £5. Wish you guys a Merry Xmas and all the best for the new year. Have a box of mince pies on me. Look forward to your 2024 content. Thank you very much. I have stuff planned for 2024, which I'll probably talk about at some point just as
I was 3 weeks ahead, he said.
Yeah. However, but I have plans in a sense of I have strategies to move forward. But yeah, I'll quickly backread chat first. Work queue all queued out. More or less. There's a couple of things that didn't get done, but also like I'm past the point where any of it matters now. Like nothing can be done before Christmas now. So I'm kind of in that I'm free section because we're past the deadline. Like it's pens down. Even if I finish something right this second, there isn't reasonably time for the customer to come and get it before Christmas, or they're going to turn around and be like, no, I'll come in January. So like I'm done, you know. So there's a couple of things that didn't get done, but there's only a few. I think there's only a few that are actually marked as transfer, which is where a ticket gets copied over to the 2024 ticket list. Yeah, like there have been some years where there's been like, 6 or 7 transfer tickets. So when you come in January, you've just got those jobs that are still there waiting for you, and you're like, oh. However, this one, it's not too bad, all things considered. So yes. So yeah, I'm content.
Oh dear.
Tree cam. That's surprisingly doable, but also no. We could get the bench cam, plug that in, and then just have it look around the corner and zoom in on the tree.
Hello.
Yeah, but no. But yes, 6 or 7, you have to contend with 25 to 30. What the hell? What happened to have that many tickets outstanding? Currently writing Christmas cards 30 minutes before dinner. Oh yeah, I haven't done any cards. I've got the gifts. Luckily, I have very few gifts that I need to buy, but I have got those sorted. I need to wrap them, but not a big deal.
These Christmas gifts bought with my Amazon affiliate money.
There were a couple of people where I was just like, I received some beers from customers, like, they brought in a bag with a couple of craft beers kind of thing. I was just like, I could give these to other people as gifts, which is what my dad used to do. But no, I'm not going to be that guy. I will not be that guy. I don't do cards anymore, just make a charity. Yeah, I'm not into cards, to be honest. Yeah, like I've got a bunch of Christmas cards that I need to open and I'll put them out at home. But yeah, like Christmas cards and birthday cards, I don't really care, to be honest. This is the thing. When I don't give cards to other people, it's not because I didn't care. It's just like I don't value cards, so I don't. Like, as far as I'm concerned, it's the same as just saying to someone like Merry Christmas or Happy Birthday. I'm just like, I could just say it. And I think that, I don't see the reason to buy the card to give that thing value, meaning. Like, I suppose one could say sort of, oh, the point is you made the effort to go and get the card. I'm just like, why do I have to prove my commitment to you? I don't know. I personally, I find it a bit, it makes it sound like I'm offended by them or something like that, but yeah, I often feel like I've made no effort when other people give me cards. But the reason why I didn't do it is just like I don't really care about the card anyway, Yeah. So yeah, as long as everyone says Merry Christmas to each other, I don't think anything else needs to be done personally. So yeah. But yes, not even a card for mum and dad. No, I just, I show up to the family meeting and I say, Merry Christmas, it's lovely to see you, let's spend the day together. I think that's got a lot more value than a Christmas card,
I'll have you know, I walked uphill both ways.
Yes. All right.
Ah, yes. My ginger snack.
I realise I probably should have waited for you to be talking about something before I decided to eat a snack. Now we've just got to sit here awkwardly while I finish my mouthful.
Yes. I will forever reference A Hat in Time.
Caradog went to Lidl, so we have lots of favorina favors, which
Yes.
are all variations of Lebkuchen. Have we got any Germans in the audience right now? I need someone to validate that I'm pronouncing Lebkuchen correctly. Otherwise, I will take psychic damage and be instantly killed.
Yes, we have the Nuremberg Lebkuchen. We have the Lebkuchen hearts.
Good enough, says Hans. Good.
Boff.
And we have the mini Butterstollen as well.
Yes.
Or perhaps it's Butterstollen? I don't know.
Butter.
I don't know. I'm trying to put a German pronunciation on butter. Butter.
Oh.
Butterstollen.
Oh. Mein Handy.
Okay, Dave Bell says it's Lebenkuchen. Lebenkuchen?
Lebenkuchen.
I don't know.
Li Bi Kao Chen. Li Ib Kao Chen.
What? Yeah, I can see it. Okay, anyway. Pronouncing GIF wrong is fine, but we're bothered about spicy cake. Look, we say GIF wrong because the guy who invented it is wrong. Like, we've all agreed on this. We've all seen... Do the rustle.
There we go.
We've all seen the Nick Fury GIF where he says, I recognise the council has made a decision, but I've elected to ignore it on account that it's a stupid-ass decision. Yeah, the apricot hearts. These are the best ones. Yeah, these are the best ones in my opinion. Yeah, I do like these, but they've got... what's the other thing that's on them? The licorice. It's got a licorice taste to it as well, somewhere. I don't know if it's in there, but it's almost like licorice. It's in the glaze. Or maybe it's just the... Maybe it's
Orange?
Maybe it's the mixture of orange and ginger or something like that. Don't know. I'm not big on... As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm not big on ginger.
I'm big on gingers.
Is that racist? Anyway.
No. Can't be racist the same without a soul.
Woo! Woo! So what's going on in chat at the moment? Yeah, it's Lebkuchen. Okay. Aniseed, that's the one. That's the one, Lead Farmer. You love the big biscuits. I see. Try to say Glühwein, I think.
Glue wine.
It's German. There must be some kind of in there somewhere.
Glühwein.
Steve was like, ginger's our word.
What's up, my ginger?
Oh no! It could have been left there. It could have been left there. Anyway, we don't have any particular plan today. We're kind of just going to sit here and eat snacks, and we're probably going to do some more mulled cider and kind of just like... Caradog joked about like just building a computer for the sake of building a computer. So we could also just do that. Or failing that, I was also going to suggest that we just came up with some topics and talked about good Christmas movies or something like that, just as a, it's Christmas, let's talk about Christmas stuff.
What makes something a Christmas movie?
Okay.
Because people will argue that Die Hard is a Christmas movie because it occurs during... The film is set.
Okay, so we're going with
for
we're going for the Die Hard for the conversation.
Not specifically, but using that as a coat hook.
Okay. So So yeah, okay. It needs to be. I think, in order for it to be a Christmas movie, it has to be about Christmas, in a sense of the fact that it is the Christmas season has to be part of the plot point as either a subject or a setup kind of thing, and therefore, I think that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie because it being Christmas is not relevant to the plot line in any way. Like, they're at a Christmas party, but that could have been any party. The fact that it's a Christmas party is completely...
It could have been a birthday.
Yeah, it could have been a birthday. It could have been a celebration. It could have been any reason. The point is that all the staff were there after hours, you know. But that much being said, I love watching Die Hard at Christmas kind of thing. You know, I'm not hating on the concept of watching Die Hard at Christmas. I think it's funny to consider it as a Christmas movie because it's very difficult to argue it not being a Christmas movie. You have to get into the specifics of it.
I think it's also a case of kind of what reason are you defining it as Christmas or not? Are you attempting to convince a member of the family to watch it? Basically, and I feel like that's the main reason.
Yeah, and Bruce Willis is crap. I tell you what, Bruce Willis was good in Die Hard. Back then he could still act. But also, it is worth noting, Bruce Willis has serious health issues, which are one of the main reasons why anything he has been in that is vaguely modern has been, suffice to say, not a very good performance. So, I give Bruce Willis a pass. He needs to retire, basically. Like, he should absolutely retire. But he does actually legitimately have serious health problems. So while I do agree he's not been very good as of late, I don't want to take the piss out of that because there are legitimate reasons for it.
Oh my God, there's 2 2023 films that he's been in.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of...
And they have failed to score more than 4 stars.
Yeah, it's really a matter of just like, my dude, you have to retire. I don't know if it's you, your manager, or what, but you're done.
He was successfully involved in 2 4-star films in 2022.
Which ones were they?
White Elephant.
Okay.
And Corrective Measures.
Fair enough. I wanted to check if any of them were Glass.
And then he was in a 2.9.
Yeah. Was that Glass? Yeah.
No.
But yeah, because Glass was a terrible, terrible movie because it was one of the Unbreakable sequels. So it kind of had to have him in it, but also it was very obvious that he was completely clocked out of everything. So yeah, he's been retired for 2 years. Yet apparently he's still in movies. So
Die Hard is Back is apparently a short film that he was in 2020.
I see. He has a form of dementia. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. He did a bunch of B movies to earn some quick cash before he got to a point where he couldn't carry on. Yeah, if he needed the money, yeah. I mean,
Glass. Glass is apparently a 6.6.
Out of 10?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which infers that it's not terrible. But then the fact that he was then in films that were 3s and 4s.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I watched Dan Olsen's review of Glass, and he was scathing, would be a charitable way to put it. He was kind of giggling through most of the review because of how bad the movie was, kind of thing. He was just, he was like, this movie makes no sense at all. So, yeah, I would have thought he'd been loaded with money. Yeah, that's what I would think, but I don't know. If you're living a Hollywood superstar and you're paying $1 million billion in rent on your Hollywood mansion or something, maybe it's expensive being rich, you know?
Also,
What?
Attempting to say medical and failed. I was just like, never mind.
I see.
Oh yeah, Looper. I was scrolling through the list being like, how many of these films have I even heard of? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're back to 2013 and now I've heard of a film. Oh no, 2014, Sin City, yeah.
Needs the money for full-time nursing and grandkids. That makes sense, to be honest. Yeah. Yep. Oh well. Okay, so Die Hard is a Christmas movie at heart, but not by technicality. What are you
He
going?
was in a music video for the Gorillas.
What? That must have been because he knows one of them or wanted to be involved or just likes their music and was just like, hey, maybe we could do a thing sometime or something.
That's wild.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about that, but I don't know. Like, I'm not surprised because it's gorillas and I don't know the deep lore of gorillas. I just know that there is deep lore, you know. So yes. So, okay. What about? Should we? Let's do another one. Famous favorite Christmas movie. Do you reckon you've got an answer for that one? I know what my.
I have one by default because it's the only Christmas movie I can think of the name for.
Okay, go.
Grinch Stole Christmas.
Really? Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay.
And like the early 2000s one, I can't remember which one that was. I think it was the Jim Carrey one.
Probably, yeah, because like that's the most famous one, I think, because like that's kind of an interesting film just because, like from a production standpoint, like.
I remember there being weird things about the production on that one.
Mainly just because there is a lot of, I think it's The Grinch. I don't think it was any other movies that were involved, but it was one of the movies where there was a lot of extremely advanced makeup involved to do The Grinch and all the rest of it. Like that, like The Grinch, that face, that ain't CG, that's all makeup, you know. And so it is one of those things where like, and like I believe. Like, because all I haven't seen it, but all of the characters are heavily stylized that way, and it's all practical makeup, which is kind of interesting just because of the production involved in doing that.
Browse movies by genre. Is Christmas a genre?
We've got Santa Claus the movie, Miracle on 34th Street, Home Alone. Yeah, Home Alone would probably be a good one for people. I tell you what my one was going to be, which I haven't seen come up yet. Muppet Christmas Carol.
I can't say that because I've not seen it.
I fucking love the Muppet Christmas Carol. I think it's a great movie.
Not seen it.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of the Muppet films or anything.
Mainly because Michael Caine's performance in it is
it's completely straight.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. You know, it's...
Of course it is.
Yeah, because his performance is so straight, it's just so believable in a way, you know. Like, it doesn't feel like a joke or anything because he played it so straight. And that is just... Michael Caine's performance in Muppet Christmas Carol is just so good. I love it. I love it to bits. Lethal Weapon 1. Was that a Christmas movie?
I don't recall.
We got Nightmare Before Christmas as well. I think that's a very valid Christmas movie. I was never really into Nightmare Before Christmas. I have seen it, but yeah, it wasn't really my. Yeah, it's not something I was super into. Neither of my sisters had a goth phase.
Oh, right, okay. Oh my God, 1993.
Yeah. I think if either of my elder sisters had had a goth stage, I would have been into Nightmare Before Christmas. But they were both indie. So, which is kind of like adjacent to goth, but not goth. And like Nightmare Before Christmas, that's goth, you know. I don't care what you say, you know. So, Wizard of Oz, that's not a Christmas movie, is it? I'm assuming not.
I don't know.
It ain't cool being no jive turkey this close to Thanksgiving. I don't know where that's from.
I'm not sure about this nerd burger.
The nerd burger. I'll try one. I'll get the same. Are they all the same?
No.
Oh yeah.
There appear to be two types.
I'll get a dusted one, which is what you're eating. So let's try the Nürnberger. I don't know why I rolled the R. I don't know if that's the thing. What's wrong with it? I think it's fine. Almost tastes like carrot cake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's got big carrot cake vibes. I guess if you're not used to the rice paper on the bottom, that might weird you out a bit. But like, as a kid, I was a massive coconut macaroon fan, and obviously they always have rice paper on the bottom, so I've always been accustomed to that. Some of these movies that are coming up in chat, I'm just like, are you guys just naming movies you like, or are you trying to gaslight me into thinking that that's a Christmas movie? Because we've got like Hellraiser here, you know, and like I haven't seen some of these movies, so I'm just like, wait, is that a Christmas film? Concern. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I never watched that. Was Fantastic Mr. Fox any good? Because like, I've read the book because I was a big Roald Dahl fan when I was a kid, and I understand that the movie is not like the book, but then also the book is an incredibly simplistic story, as most of the Roald Dahl stories were. But the movie kind of looked cool, just because I appreciated the animation style, and apparently it had some good one-liners in it. You're supposed to peel off the rice paper. I don't believe you.
Why?
It is edible. Like, if you don't like it, I can understand peeling it off, but... Yeah, no, you keep the rice paper on. Mm. 1984's A Christmas Carol. I think I might know the one you mean. Yeah, I think I might know the one you mean. And that surfaced a memory in my brain that one was like really scary and had really terrifying Christmas spirits. Maybe. I'd need to see more screen caps from it, but yeah, I can't remember. Holy mastication, Batman. Oh, sorry. Sorry for the mastication noises, everyone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Because it was the really scary one. Because yeah, he had his chains and like in order to speak, like his mouth was chained shut, and he has to like pull off his chains, and then his mouth flaps open, and he's like, "These chains are the chains that I bear," kind of thing. And at the end of it, he has to chain himself back up again before he goes back to hell or whatever. It's a really creepy movie, man. But then also, like, Muppet Christmas Carol kind of stepped up their game with the ghost of the spirit of Christmas yet to come as well, which is oddly creepy for a Muppet film. The spirit of Christmas yet to come is not a Muppet. It's a hecking ghost. You know. But yes. I hate Christmas movies. I don't like Christmas movies of good cheer per se. You know, like Elf, etc., etc. I have zero interest in any of those.
I don't know. My greatest exposure to Christmas movies are the Hallmark ones. Where it's insert varying characters around the plot of woman is in corporate job in New York, must travel for some reason by road 4,000 miles across America for no explicit reason. Some reason, unbeknownst to the person who lives in North America, there was snow. She's stuck in a small town and falls in love with the man who makes her learn about Christmas. Also, the man must have had a wife that died recently and a small child.
I see.
And it's like, Oh, I thought that was the name of a film for a second. Dance Your Cares Away. Dumb worries for another day. I was like, what?
Kiss Save Santa. Yeah.
What?
That it exists.
What?
I've not seen it, but I believe it's real.
What? Apparently it was a film in 1979. I'm intrigued by the autofill because everything that's coming up for it is also just coming up with Family Guy. I'm just like, that makes far more sense.
Family Guy have done a lot of Kiss jokes. Which, given how long Kiss have been around, is probably their most relevant material, is just Family Guy doing Kiss references.
Oh, what Kiss's most relevant material
Yeah.
is appearing in Family Guy.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't think of
The
basically...
atrocious Xmas Star Wars special. Probably.
I watched...
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Don't know that one. Not heard of that.
I watched the Star Wars Christmas special once and was just like, I see.
I don't know anything about it, but it just sounds like one of those things where just some Hollywood producer wanted it to exist to make money, kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. But it was also just, it was very much in the case where I was just like, I don't understand why you thought this was going to make money.
I mean, to a certain extent, it was probably made at a point where Star Wars was very popular, and Christmas specials are kind of a... I assume that they generally always make money because they keep doing them. Like, I mean, I guess this is a loaded comparison, but there will be a oh my God, what's the ogre from the swamp? Shrek.
Are you trying to say Shrek?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Well, yes, but I didn't know. I couldn't remember the word. That's why.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
Shrek?
Yeah. There's a Shrek Christmas special like every year. There's probably a Frozen Christmas special every year, you know, and presumably they keep making them because they keep making money on them, even though they're like a single 20-minute episode that comes out on a DVD, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
So yes, generic green man, yeah.
Generic green man.
If it exists, it's only because it's on VHS.
Yeah.
Doctor Who does them. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't. Are there still Doctor Who Christmas specials? Because back in the day, there were, but also, in a way, I kind of feel like that's okay because that's a TV series, so it feels more on point to have a Christmas special, and also that's from an era where Christmas TV was everyone's on holiday and they've got nothing better to do than sit around and watch TV. So you did Christmas specials. You know, you had the EastEnders Christmas special, you had the Doctor Who Christmas special, and I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it was also an opportunity to do a feature-length episode.
Yeah, it was also a case of they were a part of the series, and
There were 4 Christmas specials this year.
And they often bridged between like one Doctor and another Doctor and things like that.
That makes sense. James Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service, is that a Christmas movie? I don't know a lot of the James Bonds, so I can't remember.
Christmas
I don't know the plot of
doesn't
that one.
overly appear as a plot device.
Is it one of those things where it happens to occur during the Christmas period?
Yeah.
That's not by any kind of effect kind of thing? No. I see you and we're not talking about that. Moving on. The Queen's speech. Oh my God.
I mean, if there was one, I'd be very impressed.
Oh yeah. You know what? I completely forgot for a moment. I was just like, Wait, she's dead. When did that happen? Oh yeah.
Hence my.
Yeah. Last year was there a King's Speech?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's been one King's Speech so far. Yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember if I tuned in for it or not. But then, like, not to get political for a moment, but I couldn't care less about King George. I've actually forgotten his name. Charles. That's the one. That's how much I don't care that I've forgotten which one he is now. Yeah. Abolish the monarchy. Anyway. Xmas specials in TV shows are like Onsen specials in animes for fan service. Yeah, that's fair, actually. Yeah. I don't. And like that's
You
okay.
generally feel less dirty watching the Christmas special, though.
It depends. It depends on how good the fan service is. Sometimes fan service can be at such a self-aware level that you don't mind it because they're giving a wink to the camera kind of thing, because they're just doing the bit, you know. It's kind of like some shows have. It's like when modern anime shows do either the baseball episode or the beach episode, because those are two of the classic fan service episodes, with the latter being the more prominent one. And a lot of the time,
What's fan service about baseball?
it's just a trope. At some point, for a long time, a lot of TV shows and animes, they had a baseball episode. If it wasn't baseball specifically, it would be an equivalent sport for that universe or something. There would be a sports episode.
I see.
You know, it's just a trope. And usually it was probably just to pad out a season, you know. But yeah.
I mean, I know that like baseball and stuff is very large in Japan.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense on that side. But I'm like, how is this fan service?
Yeah. But yeah, I think like the beach episode, it can be done because, as I say, I've seen plenty of animes that have done, you know, the big wink wink at the audience when they've done it, to be like, yeah, we're doing this because it's funny. Like, don't take this seriously. This is fan service kind of thing. But also sometimes they've done it in a, like, case in point, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, which was a popular anime, because you're going to look at me blankly because you are 0% weeb, I think, aren't you?
I'll have you know, I've watched Ghost in the Shell.
Last week.
Like, I was still at school, so that makes it, 15 years ago.
Okay, yeah. But I did have to tell you why Akira was relevant, though, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I got mixed up between Akira and whatever the Forest Spirit one is.
Totoro.
No, the
Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, Akira and Spirited Away are two
Yes.
extremely different movies.
Yes, I know that they are, but you know how sometimes where you're like, I've forgotten what the name of this is, and someone gives you a name, and you're just kind of like, oh, that name sort of fits.
Anyway, Dragon Maid did a fan service episode that was very good, because like they did one where they were staffing an anime convention, and it was obviously supposed to be a lot of nods and fan service, and they did a lot of like poking at fun at nerds and stuff like that, but also did a really wholesome ending where they pointed out that it was a lot of passionate people who just really like this stuff, and a lot of wholesome people coming together for a common interest and stuff like that. So it's possible to do fan service in a tasteful way, basically, is what I'm saying. And I think
You
that's
saying
kind
that,
of
I
interesting.
remembered. Now I'm going to. I can only remember part of it, but there was one of those visual novel dating games, based, the anime dating games like Doku Doku Literature Club and similar. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about tanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, but also
anime tanks.
But also, I will not even blink at that, because of course there is.
And I remember them having
you're aware of Girls and Panzer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But there was a beach episode, and they were talking about having their, flotation devices fitted.
Oh no. See, again, like, they know exactly what they're doing in that. They're like, there's, even if we play this straight, this is beyond, this is so absurd.
I remember
that
there being...
there's no way the audience is not having a laugh at the absurdity of this.
And just the fact that there was a love triangle between, the Panzer III and the Joseph Stalin. I was just like, what?
This is why, like...
And then someone knocks on your door because they're angry with you because, you're going out the wrong girl. And if you play the options wrong, you get exploded. It's just like, what?
Just... Like, I'm not a super weeb, but there's some stuff out there that you just can't help but smile at the fact of, like, I'm so glad that anime as a genre is big enough to enable stuff this bonkers to exist. This gets funded. Someone pays to produce this.
Oh God! And then there was a whole thing about peeling potatoes, or something. I can't remember the details, but yes, apparently the way to get on a date with the correct girl for the story was all about peeling potatoes.
I see.
What?
What's the name of the one with the girls that are warships? Oh, I know this, but I've forgotten. Cancoli or something, I think. Yeah, something like Cancoli or something like that. I forget.
Nuns, nuns, reverse.
Yeah. However, the Warship Girls one. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. But stuff that generally has crossovers with guns and warships and or stuff just generally isn't my cup of tea in general. Although I did sit through Girls and Panzer at one point, mainly because I was just like, I need to find out how they've made this function, kind of thing. And it's fun in an absurdist way. Like, you don't take it seriously because they're drifting tanks.
Yes.
But,
Oh, yes. I remember there's a scene where they do a bullet time scene, don't they?
Probably.
And, like, all these people jumping around it and stuff. And
Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, worth a watch. Is that the modern Dungeons and Dragons movie that came out like this year?
I don't know.
Because if it is, I've heard a lot of good things about that movie. I've not seen it, but basically everyone who I've ever seen talking about it has said that it's good.
Apparently Honor Among Thieves is a 2023 American fantasy heist action comedy film.
Yeah, that must be the new. That must be the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently, it's really good.
Ah.
It knows its audience extremely well, and like it's not a super serious movie kind of thing. It's got silly bits in it, but that's part of the joke because every Dungeons and Dragons game starts out being really serious and descends into absurdity. That's part of the gag of playing D&D.
A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a long-lost relic. But their charming adventure goes dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I see. Yes. So about that Baldur's Gate 3, eh?
I'm trying to decide if I should try and play it sometime.
I think you should.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd stream it because I feel like it's going to be a long ass game, and I kind of don't really like getting into really long games for streaming.
I think if you pushed on with it, you could have it done in like 75 hours.
Oof, that's still long. If if you're just main storyline only, 75 hours is a long ass main storyline.
I think based off of what I've seen of it, I think you could do it in about that.
Yeah, because
Like-
the longest series I've done was Elden Ring, and I don't think I would do that again. I think the only reason why that flew is just it was a blind playthrough of Elden Ring, and I was pulling big numbers doing it,
Yeah.
which is how I justified it. Because at the moment I'm publishing the VODs for Elden Ring, and there's like 36 episodes or something like
Yeah.
that. No, there's not that. There's about 30 episodes of it,
Yeah.
and I was just like, damn, I was streaming that game for like half a year, kind of thing.
Yeah. I think on like your second playthrough, you could have it done in like 16 hours.
Yeah,
Sort of thing. But there's just so much content to go through and pick over and so on because it's D&D.
That's it.
That
It
you kind
seems a
of have to
shame.
do that, certainly the first time, to know what's
Yeah.
even relevant.
yeah, and it seems a shame to beeline through a game like Baldur's Gate. So yeah, I don't know. I might play that offline.
Yeah,
The
it's
problem
certainly worth playing.
That's always my biggest. That's part of the worst thing about Twitch streaming is so many games. You're like, I don't want to play this because I might want to stream it, and if I'm going to stream it, I want that to be my blind playthrough. And so then you find yourself not wanting to start a game in case you want to stream it, but then you're not sure if you want to stream it or not, kind of thing.
Just
So,
play it.
Yeah, so
Just play it.
I think I should just play it offline. And
Because there's nothing wrong with coming into a game and being like, this is my third playthrough of the game, so I actually roughly know what I'm doing.
yeah, that's true as well. And
Because how many times have you streamed Dragon Keeper? That's not
Dungeon Keeper.
what it's called.
Yeah, but then
Dungeon Keeper.
on the flip side, though, if you get to the point where you know a game inside out, you move to the opposite end of the spectrum. The two best playthroughs, in my opinion, are either someone who's doing a blind playthrough, so you're getting their blind reaction, or someone who is a veteran at the game and can explain all the details. Although I suppose you don't have to be a speedrunner to be at that point, because like there are quite a few games where I have explained the game and been like, oh yeah, no, I'm playing vanilla and I'm not doing advanced techniques.
Yeah.
You know, I just know what I'm doing. I know just enough to get on with the game in a timely manner.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, maybe that.
I don't think there's any
Yeah.
detriment to doing that.
Yeah. What am I currently streaming? I've just finished doing another playthrough of Tunic. Did the finale on Thursday for that, and tomorrow I will be doing my Christmas Eve stream because I've got nothing better to do on Christmas Eve, and I'll be doing Link's Awakening HD, which is a fan remake of Link's Awakening.
Yes.
It's super interesting because Link's Awakening DX, which was Link's Awakening was Game Boy Original, then Link's Awakening DX was a color version of it. So, and it works in tiles. So the entire map is divided into tiles, which are the size of a screen. So you walk from screen to screen, like classic Pokemon games. And Link's Awakening HD has basically taken that game, but joined it all together. So you have a widescreen 1080p game where you can just see the entire thing. So it's removed the screens from the game, basically. And this is kind of what the Switch remake did. So, but I think it would be interesting to see the original game in that style, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about it, basically. Part of me is just like, the Switch version has kind of already done this, so I'm not quite sure if this needs to exist, because the Switch version of Link's Awakening is legitimately extremely good. It's almost one-to-one accurate, and any changes they've made have been, in my opinion, good. But even still, I think it would just be fun to play through that and just give my commentary as someone who grew up with Link's Awakening and loves it very, very dearly, is to see what this HD remake did, you know.
I saw someone talking the other day about an emulation setup for Link's Awakening, where it had been retextured and everything. I was just like, interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I've not looked into anything of that ilk. Yeah, the existence of Link's Awakening HD certainly makes me more interested in something like that. Because the original, I'm just like, there's not enough resolution there for that to be worth doing, in my opinion, unless they're doing some kind of really weird upscaling. But with the existence of a HD version that takes away the screens, Suddenly running high-res textures sounds kind of interesting. But then on the flip side, I guess you could make up the Link's Awakening Switch version that you always wanted, because the Switch version of Link's Awakening is very good, but they also made some really asinine decisions with it that were like this. Like, for example, one of my biggest beef with Link's Awakening Switch is the entire thing has a tilt shift post-processing effect put on it.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very charming because everyone's just like, oh, it's like a little diorama. But it also means that about 30% of this outer screen edges is blurred, which just means you just lose 30% of the view of the window you have to look through.
Which means it can be rendered at a lower resolution, so they can try and hit 30 FPS on the Switch.
Yeah, and it still doesn't hit 30 FPS in the overworld, which is just like...
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how? I think that's probably my biggest grievance with Link's Awakening on the Switch, is the performance is atrocious. And I'm like, how this console can run Monster Hunter? How did you cock it up this badly? You know. So yeah. So it would kind of be interesting to see other people take a swing at it and do something that is, I don't know. I love Link's Awakening a lot because I think it is a perfect introduction to The Legend of Zelda. It's just complicated enough to be a real Zelda game, but also it's simple enough that, except for the final boss, which is kind of nonsense, anyone could stumble their way through it, you know. So yes.
I haven't played any of the Zelda games.
If you ever wanted to give it a try, Link's Awakening is a really good place to start.
It's also a case of I've never owned a Nintendo console other than a Game Boy Pocket.
Yeah. Well, again, maybe Link's Awakening HD is a good place to start, because because a lot of people don't want to play Link's Awakening because either A, they don't have a Switch, and so they don't want to spend 50 quid on the remake, or B, a lot of people I've spoken to who are diehard Zelda fans have never played Link's Awakening because they're like, yeah, but that's Game Boy, and the resolution is about 10 by 10, you know. It is very much, if I had £1 for every pixel on this screen, I'd have 10p kind of thing. And for me, I don't mind because I grew up with it, but a lot of people are just like, oh, man, it's really low res, man. I don't have it in me to deal with that. Yeah. And so again, the HD version kind of solves that problem. So, yeah. And did I play Commandos Desperado? I'm not familiar with that one at all, actually. I've heard Commandos, but I don't know what that is. Oh, excuse me. Is Noita worth buying? I'm not familiar with that. Need to reboot your SNES emulator. You missed Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World. Hell yeah, yeah. SNES is a great platform to play stuff on. Like, you've also got Link to the Past on SNES. So yeah, I dug out my Game Boy Micro recently and got that working and played a bit of Super Mario World. It turns out that my Game Boy Micro is actually worth a not small amount of money. Well, I mean, it's not worth loads, but you know, the console itself is worth, like, you know, £150 to £200 kind of thing. And I'm just like, really, for a Game Boy Micro, which was like the least popular Game Boy ever to exist?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I struggle with the Mario games. I tried a couple of times to play them on the Game Boy, and I don't believe I've ever actually completed a level.
Interesting. Yeah. I've got a weird relationship with Mario. There's a couple of them that I'm implicitly familiar with. You know, like, for example, you know, Super Mario World I know reasonably well. And I also know the original Game Boy one. So Super Mario Land on the Game Boy and 6 Golden Coins, which is Super Mario Land 2. I know those very well. But anything else that's modern, like all the modern Mario games, I've had surprisingly little interest in. Like, I've never played Mario 64. And for a lot of gamers, that's like sort of, what do you mean you've never played Mario 64? And I'm just like, no. And like,
I've never played Half-Life.
I suppose, yeah. I feel like we've probably had this conversation before, but when Half-Life was relevant then, what were you playing? Because that's the thing, like, Or maybe
When was Half-Life relevant?
97. So yeah, I guess too young.
I was playing on the PlayStation.
Ah, okay. So you were a PlayStation
I was
kid.
playing Gran Turismo 1.
Ah, very well then.
I was playing Gran Turismo 1, and then possibly, maybe, though it might have been later, Harrier Attack Force something upbeat title game
I see. Yeah.
where you're invading insert Generistan country here, but obviously they're
Generistan.
but obviously they're bad because they're Middle Eastern.
Yeah. Yeah.
Insert American propaganda here. Yes.
Ocarina of Time is a good place to start. I did play through Ocarina of Time. I think it was last year I played that now, actually. But yeah, Ocarina of Time was pretty good, yeah. I did play that with help. I had friends who were saying, like, sort of, okay, you should be heading in this direction now, kind of thing. Wind Waker, I had quite a lot of fun with.
I was playing? I was playing Star Trek Unity.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
The point-and-click adventure.
That was on PC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
DOS.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of Star Trek games from that era that at some point I was at like a family friend's house. Like my parents were seeing their friends.
Sorry, I was just remembering your Rosie streamed Unity recently.
Oh, I see.
And it was a running gag in that no matter where Riker was standing, he always looked like he was in incredible pain. And it was true. He did. Everywhere he stood, it always looked like he was in incredible pain.
Please try and mimic his visage.
His visage.
Visage. Or is it visage?
His visage.
Visage.
It was always just kind of... or stood there kind of, you know, in his traditional...
I was going to say, yeah.
But it was kind of like... I was just like...
I see.
Oh, maybe we should get you a stretcher? Yes. It was...
Commandos is a stealth-oriented real-time tactics. Okay, yeah. No, I didn't play that. I did play early Command and Conquer. So, yeah. Mario Wonder is probably worth playing. I've heard great things about Mario Wonder. Apparently it's just like, it really is a culmination of just modern Mario. But also, I don't have a Switch at the moment. So, and like, I kind of don't want to get a Switch because it's a very old console at this point, and I don't want to spend money on one. Like, if you have one, it's great, but I don't want to spend money on a Switch at this point. So,
Indeed.
yeah. What? No Christmas cider? We should probably... I can't... I want to get a cider going. I'm going to do that in a sec. Hated Mario 64. The joystick's jankiness of the 64 controller didn't help matters. See, because I haven't played Mario 64, I'm not sure, but I have played Mario Odyssey, which had what was basically Mario 64 controls. And that took some getting used to, but I understand the logic behind it. And I also understand why the controls are very beloved, because once you understand that there are like 3 different jumps and you've got backflip and side flip and stuff like that, and you use them all in different circumstances, I understand why everyone is very like, this is the Mario control set. It was interesting that Mario actually has a very unique control scheme, but it's not something that I hold dear per se.
I remember watching a video, possibly last year, maybe this year, about fully path traced Mario 64.
Of course, yeah. That might be interesting.
I was like, yes.
One thing I did find interesting though is Ocarina of Time, which was also Nintendo 64. I thought I was going to hate the camera controls for that, because I played a modded version of Ocarina of Time that was modded to run at 60 FPS because I did not want to play a 30 FPS game, and also if I'd played the PAL version it would have been 24 FPS, you know.
Yeah.
And so I played a modified version that ran at 60 FPS, which was great. Ship of Harkinian, I think it's called. But yeah, I asked my friend who helps me set it up, I said, can you mod this for just twin stick camera controls? So I have a free cam. And he's like, yes, but it's kind of janky and I would recommend against it. And I was like, okay, I'll use the stock controls then. But credit where it's due, the Ocarina of Time camera it's so good. Despite the fact that it's not a free cam, so you don't have direct control over it, I was never fighting it. The camera just always pointed in a direction that was helpful. And if you needed to turn the camera around, left trigger was center camera. And I thought that I was just going to be constantly tapping that all the time. But yeah, just considering how old, how much of a early 3D game it was, the camera controls for Ocarina of Time are so good. And so that makes me believe that Mario 64 is probably not as jank as I would believe it to be, But also, it is a very specific method of control. And it's kind of like, Call of Duty in games, the movement is very specific in Call of Duty. Like, you have momentum and stuff like that.
That completely broke me going to other first-person shooters.
It's like that.
It completely broke me.
But if you know it, it's what you know, and you're like, oh no, it has to feel like this, or everything else is crap by comparison. But if you're not familiar with it, and then you play a Call of Duty game, you're like, why is my character drunk? When I let go of the control, why does he keep moving? So, yeah.
But yeah. Just going in and playing any other first-person shooter after that, and it was very much just kind of a case of just like, oh, everything is wrong. Yeah. Why is everything wrong, and why are you wrong?
I see cake. Hello, Muerto.
You could have cake, but you're not here.
It's Lebkuchen. Oh, sorry, Lebkuchen. How do we decide it was? I don't know.
Li Cow Chien.
Treats from Lidl.
Yes.
Carrot Dog sent me a text saying, quote, I'm in Lidl, do you want anything? And I just replied with Lebkuchen eyes emoji. And he showed up with like 4 bags of stuff. And I'm just like, I just said 1 bag, dude. What? Yeah. So, yes, we have many. The pronunciation is nom nom nom. I would appreciate it. You're there in spirit. Are you the spirit of Christmas yet to come? Yeah.
For you are yet to come.
Also, while you're here, Muerto, I used your ME analyzer stuff today. I cleaned an ME region, and then the laptop still didn't work.
I analysed me.
Yeah, the laptop still didn't work after doing it. However, I did successfully clean the ME region on a MacBook Air, and as I say, I think that MacBook has other issues. I don't think BIOS was actually the problem, but I did go through the process and in a way that I understood. So I'm proud of myself, and I used your software to do it.
Excellent. And that laptop will be turning up on your doorstep on Thursday.
No, it won't, because it's an A1466, so I will throw it over a fence. So yeah, Frisbee style,
I believe that's how Yodel do their deliveries.
Oh yes. So I thought you were gesturing toward the saucepan for the cider. Then you were just like, "So go and get the cider," and I'm like, "All right, I was going to." Sheesh.
You think I'd be that passive aggressive?
Yeah.
And not just aggressive?
Oh, I packed away the heckin' thing.
Yes.
Should have left it out.
Get it out.
Ugh. Use it for a trash can lid. Yes, it's true.
Why is the 1466 so hated?
It's not hated. It's just that, it's a 2015 MacBook Air with a dual-core processor.
It's not.
It's questionable. Well, it's questionable to do board repair on them because, if you spend half a day doing board repair on them. Like, you can probably buy a replacement logic board on eBay for like £90 or something like that. So like, is it actually worth doing board repair on them? And I still do, because a lot of faults they have are quite easy to deal with, and therefore it's worth doing. But also, like, by the end of it, you have a dual core 1.8 gigahertz i5 that's like maybe 5th generation.
Woohoo!
You know, so it's just like,
I see.
And also the PCH will probably fail next week. So, yeah. Ugh. Right. Surprise.
Can it charge my phone?
I don't think you want it to charge your phone. It is one of those...
Can I charge my phone at 1.5 kilowatts?
I was going to say, this is one of those sort of intrusive thoughts moments where you're like, but what would happen if I put it on there? And it's like, no, do not. Do not. That's kind of like just like saying like, but what would happen if I put my phone into the microwave? It's like, no. Just no. Stop it. Stop that.
Put that thing back where it came from. So help me.
Bomb. So help me. Oh, we never make that joke anymore. That used to be our thing. I'm going to get some glasses. I didn't do the washing up.
Oh, we also... I mean, the other thing we can do, we have red wine over there.
I mean, if you want wine, you can have wine.
We can have hot red wine as well.
If you want to do that, you can.
There are many choices.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the mulled cider, but like legitimately, if you want to keep the wine, you can. Go. Heck. I'm gonna turn off my mic for a sec while I wash up.
Alright. I'm gonna have to squeeze it.
Yes, I did. Good. I kind of just assumed that my mic was turned off.
Yes.
Okay, I've turned on to the sound of Caradog fighting the box. Cider go brr, it sure do. Moneto says, I still do 00165 boards as they survive anything. Yeah, apart from when it's missing Sleep Sus or Sleep S4. Really, I find Sleep S4L to be not... I mean, if you've gone through the cheat sheet for missing Sleep S4L, and then sure, yeah, definitely. I got trolled by one that I was working on today where the bat low signal was missing for PM Sleep S4L, and it just turned out that the board was being fussy because I was using a Type-C power cable to MagSafe and not a real, genuine charger. But yeah, it didn't troll me for too long, although it did mean that the video I was recording was basically a bust because I'd spent half an hour diagnosing what was actually just a matter of I wasn't using the right charger. But also, this is the same laptop that I then failed to fix the BIOS on anyway. Well, if it is the BIOS that's gone. I get fan spin, but it doesn't post, basically. But also, I plugged in a Chipmunk, and the Chipmunk doesn't show any activity, so I think the PCH is dead. It starts up, but the PCH, I don't know. Yeah, I have fan spin, but nothing else. It seems to be brain dead, basically. So yeah. Pre-revenue says there's still like 10 mil in there.
Effort. I'm not blowing in the bag.
Very well. You posted in the Discord non-tech link to a Lebkuchen saying in Google Translate. Ah, fair enough. Yeah, Caradog's on his way. I'm going to turn that down a bit. I think that's going to boil our cider. Too many dead PCHs this month. Yeah, I had one on. I had one on a Dell that I was working on. That had
Lebkuchen.
Lebkuchen.
Kuchen. Lebkuchen.
I love it when you listen to a pronunciation like this and then you try and copy their tone as well. So we're just like Lebkuchen.
Ah, yes.
I had some Lebkuchen.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had a Dell with an exploded 3.3 volt regulator, and that turned out to be, that also now has a very dead PCH, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. I'm going to make a video about that one, I think, because it's I think that one has value of demonstrating that if you're when you get that far into a repair, check the measurements, and if you see these measurements, you almost certainly have a dead PCH, which means you should stop, kind of thing, because I think a lot of amateurs, myself included, don't know what a dead PCH looks like. So we kind of live in fear of it. Oh yeah, we kind of live in fear of it, but we don't know how to diagnose it when we see it. So I'm interested in making videos that show a dead PCH to teach people how to recognize it when it comes up. So yes. The asteroid impact, yes. Yeah, the asteroid impact.
The asteroid impact?
Lebkuchen is German for gingerbread. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Earlier on, Caradog was just like, oh yeah, it's gingerbread. And I'm just like, oh yeah, it does taste of ginger, doesn't it? It's just like, and Caradog looked at me like I just had a stroke kind of thing. So...
That will be my new description for incredulity. He looked at them as though they had just had a stroke.
Have you not heard that before? This is one of those times where I say something that I didn't think was that funny and it just catches Caradog off guard.
I'm also just imagining that appearing in one of your, fiction works. How dare you? What do you mean, how dare I?
My works are literary genius.
Are they? I think we're a little warm.
I guess. Are we going to try and measure the temperature?
I mean, we can do.
We can.
We have the equipment.
We do.
We have the technology.
I was going to say I saw it there earlier on, but someone left a load of junk on my counter.
Yes. Fine. Get Neo. P. 57.
I suppose the saucepan temperature will be representative of the liquid inside, won't it? Approximately.
Yes. To a reasonably high degree of accuracy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 60 on the inside. That's probably good enough, isn't it?
Oh, I like that you can see the steam in the IR. Impressive.
That's very pleasing. Good.
I enjoy IR photogrammetry.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember if it was you I was talking to about it, but I was saying how fascinating it was because when you look at thermal imaging, you're seeing a part of the spectrum that you can't otherwise see. So you're seeing something that you've never seen before.
But
it's like seeing,
no exists.
Yeah, it's like seeing another color kind of thing, you know. And I think that's why thermal imaging is so fascinating to look at, because you're seeing a color that you can't see, you know. Thanks for the tips on 3D printers. Finally got one used for €80. It's a lot of fun. Nice. You're very welcome, Nebbia.
I remember on the industrial estate near here, there was a set of offices as well. And in there was someone who did photogrammetry, and they called upon our services at one point. And I remember talking to the person, and the person had recently been invited to a tech day demo of a new standalone thermal camera, you know, one of the big industrial ones, you know, the actually like 4K ones kind of thing, you know.
The ones that you're not allowed to sell to civilians.
The ones that you also, you know, have to have a mortgage for.
Yeah.
One of those. And for some reason, the method that was used to demonstrate the detail of the thermal imaging was to play a video of a woman on a fixed bicycle.
Okay.
Who was not wearing clothing.
I see.
And to therefore see the detail that was retained in the video.
Yeah. That's a choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were both like, that was a choice for them to use that. They could have done anything else.
Yeah, like, not gonna lie, that's like that you're gonna see stuff there that's going to make everyone in the audience be like, is this really appropriate for a business presentation?
Yeah.
That's just unavoidable. Yeah, I see. Where is this video for science? Yeah.
It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That sets the tone for this event.
Yeah. Also, I saw a Hello Pianov there. Yes, there is a Pianov. Hello Pianov. I wanted to double back and check just because I was watching Pianov videos for doing changing serial numbers on Macs and ME cleaning on Macs. So thank you, Pianov. Your videos are also very informative and useful. So yes, I didn't succeed, but your video was still invaluable to my attempt, and I understood them well. So yeah, a Pianov. It's not some. Yeah, we shouldn't so much say a Pianov, rather the Pianov.
An indefinite article.
Yeah, or rather, I'd be very concerned if there was more than one of them. But either way, yes, thanks for the videos. And also, yes, someone else was saying about 3D printing there. I was 3D printing graphics for things. You know, I had that 10-inch screen that I was going to mount up and do stuff with. Yeah. Well, I hadn't been having much luck printing a shell to put it in because just the shell was just too big for the 3D printer. However, I did 3D print just some basic kickstands to mount it on. And those were delightfully simple, and now I've just got it sitting on some kickstands, basically, which is... out of 10? I suppose it tastes like that, dipped in that, but...
Tastes like ginger.
I see. Anyway. But... Quote, Yate Computing. What the fuck? Anyway. Awkward silence moment. Yeah. I watched your hand descending and I was like, is he going to... Oh, God, okay. This ain't tea and a nice biscuit here, you know. Like, I think we can agree that's a match made in heaven, but... Yeah, Lebkuchen and mulled cider. I mean, I guess they're both Christmassy things. So yeah, mulled cake.
Reminds you of that.
Anyway, yes, I have also been using my 3D printer recently, and just being like, man, 3D printers are so cool. Yeah.
How have your AM3 brackets come on, or AM4 brackets?
I haven't been working on them, just out of a lack of necessity. I kind of got far enough to be like, I could make this work. But I wouldn't trust it on. I wouldn't trust it on a computer that I needed to sell. Like I think it would fail after a period of months or something like that.
I mean, as long as it lasts 92 days.
Well, yeah, and if the problem is the penalty for failure is the CPU cooler doesn't just come loose, but would fall off. Because obviously, like, it's bolted onto the back, it's bolted to the backplate, isn't it? So, yeah.
That would require 4 points of failure at once, though.
I guess, but if one of them goes, that's going to put additional stress on the others, which means you'll probably get a cascade failure. And the penalty for that is the CPU cooler literally drops off and hits the graphics card. So it's just a case of like, no, I think it's doable and it might be possible for like suicide runs or bench testing, but it's not something that I can use as I've lost the bracket for this cooler, I'll 3D print one. No, it's not going to work, I don't think. I guess I could get like brass inserts, but then you have to find those and put them into the design, and I think you're just over-engineering it, and you may as well just buy another cooler at that point. But yes, I have been doing 3D printing recently and being like, yeah. Also, like, the Creality Sonic Pad I've got an update recently that really feels like it's sped up the printer. It seems to have been going faster recently, and I'm like, this is good. There's active development here. But yeah, I got an email from Creality and they wanted to send me one of their latest printers, which looks very, very fancy.
Did you say yes?
I said, no, could you send me one of your resin printers instead? Because the problem is like their new one looks very fancy, but it does exactly the same as the Ender 5 S1 that I've got. And I'm like, I don't feel like I have anything new to say, other than just like, yes, this is another Creality 3D printer. I guess I have another one now. I suppose I could do a follow-up and say this is what I've learned since I made that video, but even then I'd have to really struggle to find stuff to talk about. But a resin printer I'd be interested in. So I said, do you fancy sending me one of your resin printers? And they said no, and offered me one of their small new ones. And I'm just like, and I just haven't replied to that email yet, because I'm just like, no, I'm not, I don't care, I'm not interested. Like, thanks for offering me free stuff, but I've got nothing to say about this product.
Yeah.
However, someone else, some other printer brand reached out. I can't remember the name of the brand, but their only one is resin at the moment. So I have replied and said, yes, I'm interested in looking at one of those.
Wasn't there someone who was doing something with what I'll effectively refer to as some sort of Chinese equipment in a fume cupboard?
Oh yeah, that was a laser cutter. That one fell through. I didn't push the paperwork on it, and they wanted like contracts and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, I could, but yeah, I wasn't ready for the commitment. So yeah. Also, other stuff that's coming up that is interesting as well. I had an email from Tomlov that make Andon Star style microscopes, and they've got one that has a nice big
microscopes.
Yeah, well, I was gesturing to the microscope, but yeah, they've got one that has a really nice big cantilever clamp arm and a 10-inch screen, and apparently does the screen and HDMI output at the same time. Because I replied to them and I said, can it do HDMI output and the screen at the same time? Because this was the problem with the last one I looked at, and if it can't do this, I will savage it in the review, kind of thing. And they said, yes, it can. I'm like, cool, please send me one, So fingers crossed I'll get one of those. And it looks fairly affordable, but like the big cantilever stand looks really cool. And I think that looks really interesting because it looks like it's a very low, easy setup solution. Because so many people ask me, oh, how did you get the boom arm set up for your Andon Star? And I'm like, well, it's a modified monitor arm, but it's difficult to describe the modification for that. You have to find a very specific monitor arm that will work, So
yeah. And as Pre-Revenue says, watch it not actually do HDMI and recording at the same time.
Yeah. Resin printers are messy and you need extraction and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, you do need extraction. Like, you need extraction if you're using any 3D printer. I don't have an extractor in here, but if I'm running the 3D printer, even in this large workshop, I have the fan going to circulate the air in the room. If I don't have the fan running when the 3D printer is going, I can feel it late in the day. It will give me a headache. But then also it's behind my bench, so it kind of just wafts its fumes directly at me. But also just, yeah, you should be in a ventilated area if you're using any 3D printer. Do do do. So yeah, that's Was there anything? I'm trying to remember if there was any other review stuff that I was looking at recently. I don't think there was.
Stools.
Yes, I'll review a stool. I now and then I get offers for like gaming chairs and stuff like that, but the problem is I think I usually reply to them and I'm just like, I would love to look at one, but it'll be on my Twitch stream because I can't sit in a gaming chair in a repair workshop. I mean, I
Put the bench on its lowest possible setting.
yeah, it's just like, or rather, I'm not going to, you know.
Yes. More standing desks.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who it was, but one of the standing desk companies seems to be doing a marketing push at the moment.
Yes. I can't remember. I should do that again. Hell, I should just do a video about the Flex. There's a couple of things that I never did a review on that I need to just put out a video, even if it's like just a 5-minute video. Like, this actually segues nicely into 2024 strategies. One of my strategies for 2024 is to do more YouTube shorts, not because I care about short form content, but as a traffic driver. Because if people are watching shorts, then they're more likely to get recommended your long form videos as well, which is where you'll actually make revenue. So I need to put more shorts out there to boost the channel in the algorithm. And I was kind of thinking that I would probably do a couple of shorts for just stuff that I never got around to doing the review video for. And like those people are owed full videos, not a 60-second short.
Yeah.
But like realistically, I'm not going to get it done. So for a couple of things like, you know, the Flex, what brand is it again? I could at least tell Flexi Spot. Yeah, the Flexi Spot standing desk that I use, and a couple of other bits like the NVMe USB dock and things like that. I should just do a short that just basically just says, this is the desk I use and I use it in this way and it works really good, kind of thing. You know, obviously a bit more detail than that, but you know, and same with that, and just be like, hey, this is the thing I got sent. This works out really good. I would recommend it. It's good at this. It's not so good at this.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a good idea for just filler YouTube shorts that I can do. I can probably just ad lib them, zero editing, just literally just like record them on my phone, and just have a couple of talking points on a notepad and just be like, blah 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 blah. Stop recording, upload, bam, done. So yeah.
Also practice for 60-second or less sponsor spots.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Like I have scripted the one for NordVPN, but like that's hard because NordVPN gives you more or less unlimited freedom, but that also makes it extremely difficult because you know like you've got to come up with a script and stuff. They don't actually. Like I looked on their resources to see if they had a preset script that I would then take and just modify a couple of bits of, but there isn't one. So I'm just like, what do I talk about, you know? So in the end, my script is mainly just going to focus on the fact I wanted to put focus on their WireGuard implementation because I think that's what makes them interesting, is that they have an interesting WireGuard implementation.
Do you have access to it?
Not yet. That's the other reason why I haven't done it yet, is I need to actually reply to them and be like, yes, I'm going to do this. This is my rough script. However, I need you guys to give me I need a review sample so I can then capture a load of footage of the software in action and stuff like that. Or I guess I could just get a 30-day trial or something. So yeah. And so that would be it. No PCBWay sponsorship. I want to email PCBWay actually because while I haven't used PCBWay specifically because JLC PCB are cheaper, but PCBWay are sponsoring shed loads of people in my space, and they seem to be sponsoring a lot of people consistently as well. Yeah. And one of my plans is, what I really don't want is to have to negotiate rates for a different sponsor every month. And so I kind of want to send an email to PCBWay and maybe one or two other people and just say, look, I will offer you really, really good rates if you're interested in doing 2 videos a month regularly.
Or
Because that way I've got that guaranteed monthly income because we have a standing agreement kind of thing.
Or you say, how many videos will you do over what time period? Can we agree to do 5 videos over 5 months, 1 video a month?
Yeah.
Because that's
that
the
would
same
also work.
thing.
Yeah.
And you don't mention the part about being cheap.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, at the very least.
More a case of, are you looking to do a block of videos over a certain time period?
See, I could do that for
1 a month.
There's 2 types of sponsorship I'm looking for at the moment. One of them is a reliable sponsorship to shore up the revenue, which is currently, because the revenue is currently too low. Basically, I'm bleeding money. And so I'm looking for one of them to make up that shortfall. And that doesn't have to be hugely lucrative in order to make up that shortfall. It just needs to be reliable. And then the other type would be actually maximizing income, so the channel actually like earns me a decent living wage, which it doesn't, you know, because like obviously one day I would like to not be living paycheck to paycheck, you know. So yeah, that obviously would be the way to do that. So I'm kind of looking for both, and like I'm willing to be upfront with some people and just be like, look, I'll live with you. I'm willing to do you good rates in order for a reliable spot. And like the deal would be that if you stopped being reliable, then I wouldn't offer you. Then you would, the next time you want to come with me, I would then be offering you a higher rate instead. You know. I mean, obviously though, I guess they could turn around and be like, okay, see you. We're going to go to the next billion YouTube channels. You know.
Yeah.
But fine. You know, whatever.
Obviously, I've not actually done it, but from my limited outside experience, it doesn't seem like it's a great deal of work to go over if you can arrange 2 videos worth per sponsor.
Yeah, that's probably not a big deal. Yeah, a lot of it, I'm just going to see how I feel next year, because so much stuff this year has been so difficult because I've just been super stressed by being backlogged all year, and I'm just fingers crossed that fixing my backlogged issue and I'm stressed because I'm constantly a month behind schedule. I'm just fingers crossed that solving that problem will just make everything else fall into place. That's kind of what I'm banking on. And I think it's reasonable to assume that that's how it'll shake out. I think that's fairly reasonable. Stephen says, I'm sick to death about hearing about PCBWay. You know, we'll literally use any other company because of this. That's fair and understandable. My interest in PCBWay is just that, yeah, I'm sure some people will be sick of them, but also they're extremely inoffensive. I get offers from like World of Tanks and Raid Shadow Legends and insert disgusting predatory mobile game name here often, and like you're gonna sell your soul if you start doing sponsor spots for games like that, because you're gonna be like, yeah, I really enjoy playing this mobile game. I've totally been playing it for the past 2 weeks and I love it. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And you know, whereas PCBWay, even if people are sick to death about hearing them, it's a case of it's an honest service. If you like it, you buy it. If you don't like it, you don't buy it. No one can accuse me of shilling or being a sellout for being with someone like PCBWay kind of thing. That's why I'm interested in someone like that, because it's completely inoffensive if that scans.
I mean, people will always find a way of accusing you of whatever they want to accuse you
Sure,
of.
but I am comfortable with it. Whereas even with NordVPN, it's just like, I don't use a VPN. You know, like I can tell you why I think NordVPN is a good service. You know, I think which is why I'm going to be, why my sponsorship, why my sponsor segment will focus on their WireGuard implementation. Because I looked at that and I was just like, oh yeah, that is a good implementation of WireGuard. You've taken the strengths of it and you've done your own custom version of it that fixes one of its weak points. Like the fact that the VPN server, because the problem with WireGuard when you're using it for VPN is if the VPN server gets owned, your real IP gets exposed. Whereas Nord's implementation of it uses an authentication server, which means if the VPN server gets owned, it doesn't expose your real IP.
Oh, because the authentication server is relaying between the two effectively.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, interesting. That's you've actually solved one of the drawbacks of WireGuard. Because when I saw they had a custom implementation of it, I was just like, why have you changed it? Why are you not just using WireGuard? But it's like, no, they changed it because they wanted an improved version of it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that also means that when they say they are the fastest VPN kind of thing, it's like, well, WireGuard is the fastest VPN technology at the moment. So that's actually a genuine. That's actually a genuine
it's
statement
genuinely
to make.
possible for that statement to be even
Whether they
remotely
are,
close to true.
yeah, whether they are the fastest or not, I'm not certain. But at the very least, it can be said that they are fast compared to older VPN technologies.
Yeah,
So,
and certainly a case of at the very least they're using
yeah,
a modern.
this is not sponsored. I'm just discussing. They're using a modern
technology.
protocol.
They're
Yeah.
using, a modern technology, and also just a case of kind of, it's not a service where they have gone, let's spin up 4,000 virtual servers in places and just kind of push adverts, and when it all collapses, we'll just create a new company name, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
there is a bit of something behind it. The only issue I have with VPN advertising is I saw an advert from someone recently where the VPN was advertising its trackingless search engine and its antivirus software and its browser protection extension and its anti-cookie program, and I was just like, you're owned by Norton, aren't you?
Yeah. And I've seen, like, when I was writing the script for a Nord segment, I watched it. They had examples of it. Here's a couple of other YouTubers who've done it. And like when I was talking to the agent, the marketing agent about it, they were just like, oh, here's some links to so and so's examples who also worked with us. And I watched a couple of those, and one or two of them were also like sort of, oh, this increases your privacy. And based on the YouTuber, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone I don't know in a completely different section of YouTube kind of thing, who was obviously appealing to quote unquote normies. And they were talking about like sort of, protects your privacy sort of thing. And I'm just like, no, that's not how this works. Yeah. That's not how this works at all.
I mean, I feel like it'd be entirely valid to throw in a line that says can be used as part of your privacy posture.
And that's exactly what I've done. I've said as part of your privacy toolkit, because that much is true. However, when you see people who are saying Nord makes you safe and secure on the internet, it's like, no, that's a sweeping generalization that is just completely doesn't take into account many other factors that are used for tracking. Fingerprinting is real, and a VPN does not protect you from fingerprinting. Sleepwalker says you got 169 subs on Adamant IT, but this is the second channel only has 4K subs. Can you link the sub counts together? No, because they are ultimately two completely separate channels that technically have nothing to do with each other, except the fact that they have similar names. Unfortunately, that's just a sucky part of having to run a second channel, and it is necessary because certain content is more harmful. For those of you who are not familiar, because it's probably been a while since we talked about this, when we first started the podcast, one of the purposes for doing it is at the time, the YouTube algorithm was heavily promoting live content. So it was extremely advantageous to your YouTube metrics to have live content on your channel. So we started a podcast. It was literally called Two Guys Talk Tech for YouTube Stats, the web show, or something like that, wasn't it?
Yes.
We like the original
episode 1.
Yeah. The Phantom Menace or so. Yeah. The original title, what literally had "we're doing this for the YouTube stats" in the title, because we were being very barefaced about it. However, the problem is that it worked too well in that the algorithm only promoted the live content, and suddenly all of the YouTube comments were suddenly a repeat message of "you only ever do this boring live show." Where what happened to the videos? And I was like, the videos never stopped. There was always a mainline video every week, but YouTube was only pushing the podcast. and just burying the mainline content. So suddenly
It did
was
separately seem like those people were only commenting on live content and therefore getting served live content because they were only interacting with live content.
Yeah, part of that was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
However, the fact still remained is that it became apparent, and we were not the only people to find this. Loads of other channels during the pandemic that started podcasts also hit the same issue and had to migrate their podcast to a second channel because they got to the point where they realized it was doing more harm than good. But also they didn't want to just kill off their podcast. So that's why it's on a separate channel, and it's just it's an unfortunate side effect that you will lose most of your audience when you do that. Like, we did half our view count when we moved to the second channel, which was just unfortunate. But on the flip side, though, again, part of my 2024 strategy is to try and develop the second channel a bit more. I'm going to do lots of things where I'm going to do certain reviews which are just enough off-brand that I'm going to put them on the second channel and then have a YouTube short on the main channel that says, I reviewed this, that, and the other. I thought this, that, and the other. If you want to see the full video, check it out on the second channel here, kind of thing, which serves two purposes. It gives me more shorts content for the main channel, and it drives traffic to the second channel to try and boost the second channel up more. And it enables me, because I want to keep doing variety content, but variety content is a very, very difficult tightrope to walk. But it swings and roundabouts. Variety content is a very difficult tightrope to walk, but in exchange for that, you have a lot more options available to you. If you don't do variety content, YouTube will eventually pigeonhole you down to very specific content, and that is then the only thing you can ever do. YouTube wants me to be a MacBook board repair channel, but I can't do a MacBook board repair video every week. I can't put out that content every week like clockwork. I just don't have enough of them to fix, and I'm not good enough to do that. So I need to have variety. But also that means I have to fight YouTube a little bit, and that's the game that I'm playing, you know.
Although if you were doing a MacBook repair video every week, I'm sure you'd become good enough very quickly.
Yeah, possibly. But also that's just dependent on having enough MacBooks on the shelf to do that. And the reality is that there's not enough on the shelf to do that. Like, I can inflate it slightly because, like, again, 2024 strategy, board repair basics is making a comeback. This week I'm going to be editing the pilot for the return of board repair basics, which will be, and like all of the old board repair basics, I'm going to retitle all of those videos to like board repair basics 2017 or whenever I did those videos. The new one will be an all-new series that will be better because I know so much more now than when I did the original board repair basics videos. And I'm going to be doing, well, it'll be a mixture of Mac and PC content, but like certainly the first couple of videos will be specifically about Macs, and they will be specifically about showing how certain circuits work for the purposes of helping people understand how to read schematics and how to read circuits, and talking about it's so easy to say, oh, this is a pull-up resistor, and then not say what is a pull-up resistor. And if no one, someone who is really paying attention and dedicated will eventually figure that out by context. But that's the thing, is there's a surprising number of people who are trying to do board repair, but when you talk to them, because they're asking for help for board repair in Discord or something like that, you talk to them and you're like, you don't know what capacitors do. You're doing board repair and you don't understand what capacitors do.
Yeah.
This is a massive hole in your knowledge that you need to understand if you're going to be doing this. But if no one ever explains what the capacitor is doing, then how are they supposed to know? You know.
I mean, I maintain that Wikipedia says what a capacitor does.
True. However,
and
also, I think
knowing how to Google is an important skill for learning how to do
this
anything.
is true, but I think there is room. I think there is a gap in the market for someone specifically of my style and level of skill you need to understand this video level. I think I am the perfect person to actually do a series that actually says, okay, I'm going to explain to you what bypass capacitors are there for without going into the maths, because every time I've ever watched a Electronics 101 video series, they say, all right, Electronics 101, capacitors, and the first thing they start doing is showing you the equation of how fast capacitors charge and discharge curves, and I'm just like, you're absolutely right, and this is what you would learn on a formal electronics engineering class, but you don't need to know this to repair a circuit board. And a lot of people are going to immediately glaze over as soon as you start showing equations.
Ah, excuse me. My Lebkuchen is ready.
So, yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah. Big Clive had to start a live channel because people didn't like his face. Yeah, it's going to be a mixture of that, but yeah, still, the point stands. Even Big Clive had to do it, yeah. Because Big Clive Live used to be on the thing. Right, I'm back reading the chat for a bit. Why don't you promote the second channel at the end of normal vids? Yeah, I need to do that more. It's all linked in the description down below, but I don't draw attention to it very often, and I need to make a habit of doing more of that. I need to get into the habit of any video that, that might be one of the new things in 2024. Any video that doesn't have an official sponsor has me shilling my Twitch and the second channel, basically. And I'm probably not going to do that in every video because people will get sick of it, but at least once every other video, instead of a sponsor spot, it will be a, by the way, if you want more of me, don't forget to check out the second channel here, and also I stream games on Thursdays and Sunday evenings, kind of thing, you know. So yes.
If you want more of me, don't forget about the Patreon. And if you want even more of me, don't forget about the OnlyFans.
Let's see. Mike says, I found variety content very useful and it brings in viewers from many different genres. Yeah, this is also the power of variety content, is you're bringing in a wider audience. If you can make variety content work, it is definitely more powerful, I think. It's just, it's a different skill set to maintain than specific content. Sounds like you may want to make another channel just for Macs. No, absolutely no. It doesn't need to be that specific. Doesn't need, any board repair content will fly. It doesn't have to just be Macs. Just Macs often go down very well because there's lots of people trying to fix Macs because they're well documented and they're valuable enough that people will pay good money for expensive repair. So yeah.
I mean, the other thing that seemed to perform well last time was just PC builds.
Yeah, we need to do more of that. Yeah, I just don't have
building PCs.
I just don't have enough of them to build.
You just need to sell more.
Yes. Yep. Again,
you need to tell people that you
I
provide
need to,
services.
Sai said in the Sai said in the exclusive Discord room, which the subscribers have access to, and I actually talk in. Sai was just like, I've sold all of my computers before Christmas, and I'm just like, man, imagine actually advertising that you have computers for sale. Maybe I would sell some if I told people that I was selling them, you know. So yes.
Oh look, just as Sai arrives.
Yeah.
You sold all your computers, Sai.
Indeed. Yeah.
You did that thing that a shop should do of selling stuff.
Stephen says, channels tend to decline when the owner starts to pamper toward YouTube's whims. The channel always loses something. Yes and no. You do need, like I say, YouTube wants to pigeonhole you into specific categories so they can provide very specific content to people. That is something that you need to fight. Otherwise, you will get pigeonholed, which makes it extremely difficult to do anything else. Because this happens in this happens in fandom as well. Like a lot of artists get known for drawing a very specific thing, and once they've done that, if they're like, I want to draw this content instead, and suddenly they get zero interest in that because their entire audience is only there for one thing. And that suddenly means that they've got an audience, but it's not good for anything because they can only do a single thing that their audience will respond to.
You're a good for nothing audience.
Yeah, this is how YouTube channels. This is how YouTube channels can die. Is that they get to the point where they're like, I'm done with this content. I've done everything, but I can't do anything else because my audience only wants to see one thing. You know,
That's why you've got
lock picking lawyer. The only thing he can do is pick locks. If he tries to do anything else,
I mean, that's literally what the channel's called.
yeah, but still, he can't do anything else with that. I would wager. You know, I mean, maybe we haven't seen him try, but you know.
The other thing you've got to do, don't forget, you've got to play into the cult of personality.
That as well,
You've got
yeah.
to build a parasocial relationship with these people so they think you're your friend.
I care about you specifically.
I love you, random citizen.
Yeah. So, you know, so that's the thing is it is bad to play into YouTube too much, but also you have to be realistic in that certain content will perform better than others, and at the end of like for example right now my revenue is in dire straits, so I need to produce content that I'm expecting to perform well, because now is not the time for me to be experimenting. Now is the time to be doing content that I know YouTube wants to see, because I need the numbers to go up. And that's the thing there is that when when half your income is dependent on that revenue stream, you actually have to play the game. You can't be a hero anymore. Like, I've resisted sponsorship for a long time. I've been like, I'll do it if I can, but it's not part of my strategy. I don't have that choice anymore. The channel can't survive without it, you know. So that's why that becomes necessary. And at some point, we may get into a position where it becomes less dependent on that again, you know. So, like I say, this is a conversation that doesn't have a conclusion, but with things as they currently are, certain corrective actions need to be taken to keep everything on track. And then when everything is cruising again, that's the point where you can relax a little and experiment and not worry about the numbers too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing. There's a time to pander to YouTube and a time when you can experiment, you know.
Merch.
Yeah, merch as well. Yeah. All right. I think I'm going to jump to the bottom of the chat because it's all scrolled off screen. So yeah.
Let's sell latitudes.
Yes. Rossman is just a rant channel now. Yeah. However, also Rossman got pigeonholed. He started doing rants, and then rants were the only thing that performed on his channel anymore. This was a phase his channel went through where every time he did a board repair video, it got no views. But if he did a video where he was ranting about something, it got 1 million views. And he made this realization. He got pigeonholed, and he lent into that because, you know, arguably he was basically done with board repair anyway. He had a shop of technicians that did it for him. So it kind of worked out in that way for Rossman. But this is exactly the fate that Rossman's channel suffered. He started doing rants, and that became the only thing that performed anymore. So yeah. So yes. Yeah, and as Mike said, to grow a channel, you should niche your niche, but for me, that's way too restrictive and actually quite boring. Big same. I don't want to get pigeonholed because I'll burn out. I'll get bored of it. I want the freedom to do other things with my YouTube channel. So yeah. Anya says, as an artist, can confirm swapping style or subject matter, not rewarded by algorithm. Exactly that. So, you know, if you want to do variety content, you need to do a balance. Like for me, if I'm going to do a video that is more experimental content, I will probably do, it needs to be sandwiched on both sides by on-brand content. So if I'm going to put out an experimental video or a video that I think is probably not going to be favored by the algorithm, I need to make sure that I have a strong video to follow it up just so it can't kill the channel. Because that's what looked like had happened when I did the Slime VR video. For a long time, I thought the Slime VR video killed the channel. Yeah. However, it that it turned out that was actually just the algorithm change that killed a lot of YouTube channels this year.
Yeah.
And like, if I didn't have the shop also generating revenue, it would have killed me.
Yeah.
You know, if YouTube was my entire income, I would have died this year. However, thankfully, YouTube is part of the income, because I was not so foolish as to put all of my eggs in one basket, you know. So, and that is something that I will never do for this exact reason. You know, no matter how big the YouTube channel gets, I'll never get rid of the shop. Unless it's gotten big enough that I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to ride this for a year and then retire. You know, that would change things. If I, you know, like if I suddenly got 1 million subscribers and was suddenly getting, you know, 20 grand a month or something like that, I'd ride that for 18 months, and then that's it. That's your retirement fund. You can do whatever the hell you want now. You know, but for as long as I am for as long as I am slightly above small, because in the grand scheme of YouTube, 170,000 subscribers is small in the grand scheme of things. You know, it is not something that I would trust to be full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
But I think also, as Si says, it's very much a case of if the YouTube channel was at that size, you would very much hire staff.
Yes.
To do stuff that is not YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I would have the money to be able to do that. Because like, whenever I complain about being busy, you know, people in the comments or just customers will say sort of, oh, you got to hire some help, and I'm just like, I can't afford someone who's capable of doing the work that I do. You know, I can't afford myself, let alone a technician who can do it. It's just good help is hard to find. Good help that I would be able to afford is hard to find. You know, there's solutions to that. You know, and that might be a part of the 24 strategy, something apprenticeship. You know, there are solutions to this issue, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also, there are exceptions. Sometimes I'll put out a video that I think is going to be a banger and just flops. And the LED hat was one of those. You know, I thought people would see the big glowy hat and be like, that looks cool, I'm going to click on that video. That video bombed hard.
Yeah.
That was a monumental flop, that video. And I was just like, it's a freaking laser hat. And you're not interested in that? Come on. You know. Granted, it wasn't that, you know, like the content of the video wasn't stellar, but the pull of that video I thought would be brilliant, you know. Yet the latest video, the pin repair video on the motherboard, that one was a banger. And I'm like, that was just pin straightening, man.
Yeah.
It's basic. I mean, yeah, it was mid to high skill pin repair. You know, it wasn't a simple, like, just nudge that pin across slightly. Some of those pins were really messed up.
I don't understand how one of them was rolled up.
I have theory. I speculated in the comments on that, but yeah.
Just how? How do you roll it up?
So what happened? So the pins lie like that, right? This is the bottom of the socket, and they're pointing up like that. I think the CPU was dropped into the socket and did that, so it was under the pin, and then it got lifted up, bending the pin upwards, and then when they put the CPU back in, it then did that.
But why did it roll?
And then because of the hole it was in, it then just got nudged in, so it just did that kind of thing, and just,
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Suffice to say, apparently, if you want to make a banger YouTube video, just find a motherboard with bent pins.
So what you're saying is, go onto eBay and buy motherboards with bent pins.
No, because they will have scrambled PCHs. Because I would wager that most of the motherboards on eBay that have bent pins are dead motherboards that they then bent some pins on and just said, no idea what's wrong with it. So people will buy it thinking, I'll just straighten those pins and she'll be right. No, my son, there's a hole in the PCH, you know.
So when you're doing desktop ATX repair, when you're doing that socket replacement on that AM3 board,
I'm still undecided on socket replacement.
I thought you were going to do it for the fun of doing a socket replacement.
Yeah, I need to get board heater sorted out. Because I will need a board heater to do it. So that's the solution. So who's the dude? Is it it's not Fairfix. It was someone else. Who was the one that posted pictures of that in the Discord recently? They were doing like a B350 or something like that.
Oh, someone was doing weren't they doing an AM3 board?
Yeah, no, it was AM4, but it was like B350 or something like that.
It was that ASRock.
It was a board. Yeah,
it was that ASRock.
Yeah, everyone was sort of going, "That's really cool that you can do that, but why are you doing it on that board?" kind of thing. And
because I need to get better at it.
yeah. However, yeah, is one of the guys in the Discord who's like really good at repair, and I feel bad about not remembering their name. But yeah, at any rate, I saw that, and he was using like just a grill as his board heater kind of thing, and I was like, interesting. I could probably buy one of those from Lidl. Jerry says, I stopped watching Fran Lab because it was all moans and rants. Yeah, with the best will in the world, Fran fell into the trap of her entire content moaning about not performing well on YouTube. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll have moans and stuff here, but you don't see me putting out mainline videos complaining that my YouTube channel is failing. That ain't the answer, in my opinion. I love Fran. Fran's a sweetheart, and she's done some really cracking videos, and I understand that she's stuck in a niche, but just doing endless videos complaining that your YouTube channel is failing isn't going to fix it. You've got to come up with a new plan. Like, don't get me wrong, it sucks that YouTube isn't there to catch you when you fall. That sucks, but that's this job. That's the business. It's just something you've got to deal with the best will in the world. Like I say, I am subscribed to Fran Labs because some of her videos on displays and stuff are absolutely brilliant. But yeah, unfortunately, the moans and the rants, that ain't it, honey. Sorry.
Apparently, it was Natterbush.
Natterbush, I see. Natterbush, if you're watching, your content is cool. There are many people that pop up in the Discord that are clearly extremely talented repair technicians that are much better than me, and I'm just like, there are lots of people here that are way more skilled than I, and that gives me imposter syndrome. But also, I don't want to make it about me,
I think I found the thing. You're having the issue with the image rotation.
Oh yes, I have found that as well.
Yes, there's a floating white blob.
It's really buried.
And you tap on the floating white blob to get the image rotation.
And it comes up with more options that aren't in the options. And
yes.
Why is this not just in the option?
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, could you do a solder blob on a broken motherboard pin? You wouldn't be able to do one that's fine enough. However, Muerto has pictures of pin repair he did where he soldered the broken end of the pin back onto the pin. Because Muerto is insane. He's an insane man. However, also he's probably, I would go so far as to say that I think Muerto is probably the best repair technician I know of in the UK. Like, if I think about the other repair techs that I've seen, most of them are all in other countries and stuff. And I'm like, who have we got in the UK who's really freaking good? And like, I'd wager to say Muerto is the best in the country. I've certainly said he's the best MacBook technician in the country.
Yeah.
I've said that to customers before because a couple of people a couple of people have called me up and said, I've got this problem with a MacBook, and like it's been a matter of they're trying to do data recovery on a MacBook that has a T2 chip on it or something like that, and I'm like, you need to call this man. If he can't fix it, it can't be done, basically. So yeah.
As Sai says, it's okay, I challenge your imposter syndrome with my own imposter syndrome.
Yes.
I'm the one with the real imposter syndrome. My one's clearly the real one. Yours is the fake one. The fake imposter syndrome, because you're a fake imposter. You're not even a good enough imposter to have the imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah, you watched your first and last Fran video. I tell you, one of my favorite Fran Labs videos. If you want Fran Labs at her best, watch her video about the history of LEDs. It's like 40 minutes long, and she's got working examples of all LEDs through the ages, including like the very first LED. She has like, this is the first production LED, and she doesn't just show it in a bag, she puts it in a breadboard and turns it on and stuff. And you just see the tiny little glow, and you're like, that was the beginning. And
that was the beginning.
Yeah.
That became a blue LED that was in everything and was so cool.
How dare you, first of all, because I was gushing about that last week. But also, I can side tangent here, but people talk about what is the most revolutionary thing of our generation kind of thing. And lots of people will be like, the internet. And I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of just, you could say an inevitability. But for me, LED. LED just changed everything. You know, like before LEDs, we only had incandescent, and like we had basic LEDs in the 90s and stuff, but the proliferation of high power, high brightness LEDs that use very little power, and also the proliferation of LiPo batteries to actually power these LED devices. I mean, you can have a torch that fits in the palm of your hand that is a heckin' searchlight compared to the little stupid glowing Chungus things with 5D cells in them that we had back in the day. And just LEDs, man, most underrated technology of the generation. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, Fran's LED video is really good, really worth checking out. If even if you don't subscribe, just that's a cracking video. So yeah.
Yeah, because I was last weekend? No, weekend before last. I was helping a friend out take some product shots against just a white drop sheet that they had.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get the lighting even. I took my softbox, my LED softbox, and was just like, I cannot get the lighting balanced in your room because of, the fact I've only brought one light. And I thought you had others, but the only ones they had were the CCFL ones.
Okay, yeah.
And set them up, and I was just like, there are 7 lumens.
Yeah. Because I know
it was just like...
Yeah, because I know when I was first buying photography lights for studio lights and stuff, there were options out there that were really cheap that had just like 4 CCFL fixtures in them. And because they were so cheap, I was extremely tempted by them. But also, like, even with CCFL lamps in them, the lights were like rated for like, 400 watts with 4 100 watt CCFLs in them. I'm like, 400 watts? I need at least 2 of them. I can't have a kilowatt of lighting on me. It would cost arms and legs. And just,
you'd have needed like 4 of them.
Yeah, and I just wasn't convinced that they would put down enough light.
Yeah.
And again, just like these LED lights, they're cheap comparatively speaking.
Are these 25 watt ones?
I think they're 45 watt.
45 watt.
So yeah, I think peak is 45. I think they've got 45 watt power supplies anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. And like the ones that I use for the mainline videos, I run them at 80% because like if you lower the brightness to like 80%, you knock off like, you have a barely perceptible loss of brightness, but you also like knock 25% of the power consumption off, Yeah. So yeah. CFLs were such garbage. They weren't as awful as a lot of people think they were. See the Technology Connections video about that. Technology Connections did a video that showed how CFLs were not as bad as everyone remembers. There were just a lot of bad CFLs.
Certainly,
and you can say the same thing about LED lights. There's a lot of really crap LED bulbs out there that make people go, oh, LED lights are crap. They only last a week. And it's like, yeah, that's because you bought a crap bulb.
All of the CFL bulbs that we had when CFL bulbs were relevant, I never had any issue with. It was all of the ones after they were relevant that I found were crap. Because they'd stopped being relevant, so the only reason you'd ever use them was because they were pennies on the pound.
Yeah.
Therefore, they were absolutely trash.
Yeah.
Absolute rubbish. And it was a case, it was just like, because I think I got into the CFLs really early, effectively I got them on the upswing when they were still being made really, really well, and you were paying £8 a bulb, £10 a bulb.
Yeah.
I got the decent ones. and it was just like they were fine. It was like, oh no, I have to wait 8 seconds for the light to reach peak brightness.
Yeah.
The light's going to be on for 9 hours today. 8 seconds is not a problem.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Broadly speaking, I never had an issue with warm-up either. But one thing that was super interesting was like when I moved in here, and like, oh well, yeah, you saw
You had wildly awful lights in here.
They were such an interesting example because the lights that were here when we moved in, they literally took like 10 minutes to get up to brightness.
It was also just a case where I was just
And
like,
even at
how
full-
did you buy lights this bad?
And also at full brightness, they were just really bad.
Yeah.
Like obviously these lights are great, so it was a very strong comparison. But like the ones that were moved, it was astonishing how terrible they were. And it was one of those examples that like when you see lights that were as terrible as the ones that were here when we moved in, you realise this is why people hated CFL, because this was some of the, because they had probably been using these lights. And like, yeah, man, if I had lights that took this long to get going and then only got to this brightness, I think they were pretty crap as well. You know, it didn't faze me because I knew they were just bad lights. But if that's
And that
all,
you were probably going to replace literally all of them.
that's right.
Really quick.
But if that's all you know, I'm not surprised you think CCFL is bad. You know. Yeah, you got to purchase lighting as well, Si. What are you lighting with? What kind of lighting have you got at the moment? Have you got just a couple of ceiling fixtures or something like that? But yeah, I mean, basically, you just got to go for panels.
I don't remember Si ever turning the lights on.
I haven't been there yet, but yeah. I do recommend just getting some panels. They're not expensive. Like the ceiling tiles that I use in here, like, I mean, go you know, for people, channel Patreon subscribers, channel members, etc., who have oh no, wait, they're all public now anyway.
They're all public. For all 17 views.
Yeah. Sag. Anyway, the moving vlog video, there is the one where we put in the lighting. The panels that I have in here, I think they were like £35 a pop or something like that. They're not super expensive. I think the main drawback is because I have 9 panels per room and there are 2 rooms, the lighting in here is actually a reasonable whack of electricity. I think I've got like 800 watts of lighting illuminating the shop. But I think that's justified because I believe in having a bright workshop and a bright room that people walk into and like, ooh, it's bright and clear and cool and everything looks nice under this lighting kind of thing. It's expensive, but I think it's worth it, you know. So yes. And yeah, if you got drop ceiling, then yeah, you just buy the panels. You could definitely DIY fit them as well.
Okay.
Like I had my friend John come and fit them, who is a qualified electrician. But if you don't have an electrician friend, you could probably DIY it. It's not rocket science.
It's weirdly confusing, the stuff they sell you the first time you try and do it, because the stuff they sell you doesn't make sense.
What is that? Because it has weird commercial fittings, or
not just that, but like also just the way that the wiring diagram says to wire it up makes no sodding sense if you know anything about the way electricity works.
Interesting, yeah. I certainly didn't see John looking at any manuals when he was putting these.
But I looked at the manual because I bought a couple of those panels, and I bought and I looked at the manuals because I was also trying to work out how the emergency system worked on it and things like that, and I was like, these wiring diagrams don't work.
Yeah.
The hell is going on?
Don't know much about the emergency system because luckily I have 2 discrete fire emergency lights anyway. So thankfully we didn't have to pay any attention to that. The only thing we had to do is just make sure the emergency lights actually work, which at least that one does. I'm not sure about the one in the front part of the shop actually, but the one in the workshop where there's less light in here anyway, that one definitely functions. Although I don't know how much I would like, if in so much of it illuminates when there is no power, but I think you'd probably get more illumination if you just turned on your phone at full brightness. But you know,
it is sufficient for you to make a exit.
It is legal, you know. So
I will make it legal. If you want a not awful panel, they are like £22 each.
Yeah. Yeah, as I say, I think these ones are a bit more pricey because I did say to John, I said, I want good ones kind of thing. And he said, okay, these are a premium one. They've got really nice diffusers on them. And I also specifically requested high CRI as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the CRI rating on these actually was, but I know John did check and he bought ones that were like, I think they're... I'm not sure if they were 90 plus, but they were definitely 85 plus, which is enough to not be bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, like 85 plus is not particularly impressive, but the point is it wasn't bad. And certainly you can buy LED lights that have like 70 or less CRI, and those will have a horrible, horrible green shift to them that will make you want to buy different lights.
Oh, right. I thought it was just...
How much lumens they have? Each panel is 3,000 lumen. So yeah, they are...
Really?
I think so.
Oh, I thought I would have thought there'd have been 3.5.
Oh yeah, there might be 3.5. They're at least 3,000 lumen. But yeah, they're pretty heckin' bright, and there's 9 of them per room. I wouldn't want anything brighter than this. Like if I've had a long day in here, my eyes will be a bit like sort of, man, I've been under some very bright lighting for a long time now. Which is the same kind of fatigue I get if I've had the studio lights on. Like these lights are very fatiguing. The key lights that we've got are very fatiguing, but it's okay because you're only doing it for a couple of hours, you know. But yeah, certainly if we did a 4-hour stream and you were not averting your eyes from the key lights, I certainly find them to be extremely fatiguing. But it's worth it just because the benefit of them outweighs the drawbacks.
Yes.
But yes, at the same time though, we do have very bright lights shining into our eyes. So, but yeah, that's what photography takes. So yes. Also just color temperature as well. At home I have warm white lights, whereas in here, absolutely not, cold white for days. So yeah, these are 5,000 Kelvin, which I think is the sweet spot for a workshop. Whereas at home, if every time I have cold colored lights at home, I'm just like, everything's so clinical and sterile and just, and I'm like, nope, 2700.
Whereas I went through and replaced all my bulbs with 5200s.
No. Yeah, 2700.
I was just like, oh look, I can actually see. Things have colours now.
Yeah.
Instead of beige.
Yeah. The other problem as well, though, is that I am wondering if when I had cold lights, like the last cold lights that I had were poor CRI, and I'm wondering if I got...
You did have one that looked approximately purple.
Yes, yeah. And I am wondering if maybe I got a bad bias about cold lighting at home because I had poor CRI bulbs. And then, yeah. Certainly the ones that I have at the moment are good CRI 2700s, and as soon as I turned those on, because it was when I replaced the light fixture, it came with a load of new bulbs, and I put those in and turned them on, I was like, oh, those are lovely. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked back since, kind of thing. So, yes.
Yeah, I run reasonably high temperature everything though, so it's kind of a case I'm very much used to running a much higher temperature light.
Part of me is tempted to switch to some high temperature ones again and see how I feel. But
I'd certainly mix it up.
Yeah.
If you can.
That might be the difference.
If you have the space to have spaces, then obviously mixing up the lighting is good.
Yes, that's
because
true.
different lighting in different areas will have different feels.
Yeah.
And you can have spaces.
I think I also just need a new desk light as well, because my current desk light, when I set that to its cold setting, because I currently have it on its warmest setting, which I think is probably 24, maybe 2700. And if I try and switch that to the cold setting, I'm just like, don't like it, you know. But also it's entirely it is a really cheap light, so it's possible that it's just got really terrible LEDs in it. Possibly. And I want to buy a nice new light, but the problem is a nice new desk light is probably 40 quid. Yeah. And I'm just like, ugh.
I mean, the cheap way of doing it, just to test, is to use these, because you've already got two RGB lights at home, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got those with the soft boxes though.
Yeah, but you can just swap the color temperature on those to like 5,000, turn them on,
And have them at low brightness.
See,
Yeah.
at a reasonably high brightness, and just look around the room and see how the room looks, because you know the CRI on them isn't awful.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get a feel and just be like,
Yeah, it
does
doesn't
this look wrong?
It doesn't work so well because because the spread isn't what I want from my lighting.
Oh yeah, I don't mean as a permanent solution, but just kind of
yeah.
a case of do the colours look wrong? Does the feel
Well,
off?
the feel and the colours are fine.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't give me the impression I'm looking for because it doesn't illuminate things the way I want them to be. Because my current desk lighting setup is I have a light that is clamped to my. I've got a dual monitor arm, and I have a light that is clamped to the arm at the back, and then floats above, pointing. It floats directly above the main screen, so it illuminates the desk and the wall behind the monitors. So I have backlighting surrounding the monitors, which I find looks very nice, and it's a nice back glow kind of thing. I can't reproduce that with a studio light. That's kind of the problem I've got.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, though, I could probably just jerry rig. Like I've got an old LED lamp here. Like, you know, the old LED strips I did. I've got like a short 30cm one.
Yeah.
I could probably just rig that up. I've just thought of that actually. I'm like, I could just rig that up and just tape it to the existing light.
Just make sure to not run it at full.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
There are 4 lights.
Yes, but like that LED tape, that's like 95 CRI tape.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's got no diffusion on it. That's the drawback. So yeah.
As long as you can't see them,
this is true.
it will show you whether the temperature and the light style is acceptable.
Yeah, I could probably just tilt it to such an angle that I don't see them. Yeah.
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 But yes, you know what you were saying earlier about all-in-ones? The other thing I thought of as well about all-in-ones that makes them less good to use is they're always too low.
Yes.
They're always way too low on the desk.
All-in-one computers we're talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Them things.
Yeah. This is just a known thing as well. Just so many monitors just don't. It is a lot of monitors don't have height adjustment and just sit really low.
And are designed for people who are about 110 centimetres tall.
Yeah, I think that's just because no one wants to make a tall stand because that's more expensive, kind of thing. But like having your monitors mounted up high at eye level is extremely underrated. It's the main reason why I use arm mounts. If it disregarding the fact that I run dual screens and I want to reclaim desk space, because like a dual monitor arm, its primary purpose is to reclaim desk space by getting rid of the monitor stands.
Yeah.
However, the other big thing that it will do for you is you can have your monitors set at a reasonably high height, even because even that Dell, that's got a tall stand, and even that's not eye level. Whereas with a monitor arm, you can have genuinely eye level monitors, and that is just so nice. It's incredibly underrated, and yeah, I agree. All-in-ones don't sit at eye level.
No, they are probably 30 centimetres too low.
And obviously, because due to their nature, it's not feasible to arm mount them. So the only way to get them to a high level is to build some kind of shelf for them to sit on, and like no one does that.
Or sit them on books.
Yeah.
Etc.
Yeah.
Yes. No, it was just something I was thinking of. I was just like, oh yes, they just sit far too low.
Get Eagotron monitor arms or the Amazon Basic. The Amazon Basic one, was that the one that got linked in the Discord recently?
I don't know.
Yeah, well that was recommended.
I was not paying that much attention.
Yeah, the cheap monitor arms seem to be fine. I've used cheap monitor arms several times and not had any problems with them.
Yeah.
The only stipulation if you're buying cheap monitor arms is make sure it has rotation, and not just a 90-degree rotation, but actual rotation, because that way, if there's any sag in the arm due to old age or poor build quality, you can just correct it when you set the monitor, and then the sag just doesn't matter because you've corrected it in the rotation. On that bench, I used the gas.
On
I
those
used
2 black ones.
that's a dual gas strut one, and I bought that. That was that one was reasonably expensive. That one, I think that was 50 or 60 quid, because I wanted the gas strut arms because I didn't want any sag and stuff like that. But they've got a lot of wobble on those ones. Like, the only reason why I haven't replaced that is the advantage of the dual gas strut arms is they can overhang backwards.
Yeah.
They can actually pull back further than just a single pole with arms sticking out can. So you can pull the monitors further back. That's the only reason why I haven't replaced that. Because, as I say, it's got a huge amount of wobble on it that normal arms wouldn't have, or would be very easy to solve.
Where are the single arm ones?
So
Eaten somewhere.
you gave me one gas strut single arm one, and I've got that out the back.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was one on each one. Fair enough.
Nope. And then I had, once upon a time, I had 2 single ones that were in the shop for a long time. Those ones were crap and didn't have rotation on them. So when they sagged, the monitor was just permanently it was just permanently like, oh. And it was a bit sad about it. And yeah, I stopped.
I am here now.
Yeah, I stopped using those ones because it was you had to essentially adjust the monitor so it was dead aligned with the pole or you had to use a bunch of zip ties to counteract the sag and stuff, and just no. So yeah. So if you buy a cheap one, make sure it has rotation so you can correct any sag. Basically, is the cider still cooking? No, it's just there. Is there any left in there?
Yes.
There's a dribble left in there. Yeah.
Would you like a dribble in your cider?
Maybe. I'm wondering whether to just like give it a little bit of heat again, or whether to just be like, it's just room temp finish it, like, because like this is down to room temp anyway. But I'm gonna reheat it because I can.
Because I have the power.
Probably only need 30 seconds.
This is my air fried cider.
Any good customer stories to share? Nothing super interesting, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't had any good ones for a while. But then I haven't been paying that much attention for a while, just purely because I've just been treading water for the past 6 months. Doesn't Dave from EEV blog still use 5,000 overhead lights in his lab? Probably. I haven't seen much lab content from Dave in a while.
I think that's reasonably done.
Yeah. Although in fairness, he's done some teardowns not that long ago that I didn't get around to watching, and I do actually enjoy his teardown content. Well, sometimes anyway. Some of his teardowns are good and some of them are bad. Like some of them, there's a lot of really good detail, and then some of them he'll be like, "This is XYZ. I can't be bothered to explain how that works." I'm like, "That's what I'm here for, bro. It's a teardown. That's the point." You know, if you're not going to, like, anyone can take the cover off and be like, "Yeah, look, there's the analog section." I came to an expert teardown so someone could explain the analog section to me. You know. So sometimes he's good and sometimes he's bad. But yeah, what were you going to say?
Has he developed his talent in avoiding the issue of having a 45-minute video with 6 minutes of content?
No. That's just Dave, though. Yeah. Yeah, that's a perpetual issue, I feel.
It does feel like every single one of his videos could be about 4 minutes long. Yeah.
However, also, like, I feel like that's an issue that he will never solve, because, like, my criticism of Dave Jones is that he's a boomer, and when you say to him, "Have you considered doing X, Y, Z?" he's just like, "Oh, that's what all the kids are into. No, I'm not into any of that woke nonsense." I'm just like, this just makes your content more accessible. You know, so yeah, it's just like Dave Jones is going to Dave Jones, basically. If you like his format, that's great. But if you feel like there is room for improvement, that ain't something you're going to see. So, yeah. The autopsy of the micro supply, which was his Type-C powered lab power supply, was very interesting. Because that was a project that was ongoing for years and then became vaporware. And not that long ago, he did a video that was essentially an autopsy of it, or just saying, what happened to this? Why was it never released? Because it was at prototype. There were working prototypes of it. And he finally did a video just saying, look, here is the working prototype. This is how far we got. This is why it didn't get done. And it was kind of interesting to see the work that had gone into it, but also why it failed as a project. With the principal part being, when they started the project, there was nothing else like it on the market, and USB Type-C power delivery was extremely complicated to implement. However, by the time they were halfway into the project, they had a very, very complicated and elaborate product because of the difficulties of implementing power delivery. However, there were now just off-the-shelf chips that would do all of this for you, and thus competitive products were now all ready to market using these very simple off-the-shelf chips. And so the product had now become completely redundant. And it was a very interesting breakdown that talked about the development of the product and how it was just a kind of a doomed product due to just poor timing. And however, there were also some very interesting parts. And like, there were other videos from the Micro Supply series, such as making your own custom LCD and making your own custom heatsink and stuff like that, that were still extremely interesting to watch in just product development. You know, there's good content there. So yeah, it's like I said, I don't watch all of Dave Jones's content, but there is some good stuff. When he's talking about something that he really knows his stuff on, there's a lot of really good content there. So yeah. I like Dave, but he's waffling a lot. Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Yeah, he's been occupied building his pool. I didn't even know he was building a pool. That's fair.
I remember watching a video of his where I may have misunderstood his point, but he seemed incredibly anti-PV. And I was just like, but why?
No, not at all. No.
He was I can't remember what his video was, but he was going on what very much felt like a rant of how stupid people were for installing PV and how it couldn't possibly work because of the energy density. And I was like, what?
No,
but it does work.
Yeah. No, because he has a big solar install on his house.
Yeah, which was the thing that I didn't understand, because I was like...
However, I think also that was probably in the context of some ridiculous solar install in an inappropriate location. For example, solar roadways and stuff like that. Because as well as solar roadways, there's been a lot of videos where people have been like, oh, we'll replace car parks with solar panels and stuff. And it's just like, no, build a roof over the car park and put the solar panels on the roof. You idiots, kind of thing. So like,
oh, they're not planning on doing that. Oh, what? Why wouldn't you just...
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I know, right?
But when I park my car in the space...
People suggested this, seriously.
But when the car park is in use, there's no sun on the car park.
And when it's not in use, it's dark, because it's nighttime and no one's parking.
What?
So that's the thing. There have been a lot of asinine solar projects, so it was probably in context to something similar to that. And there are lots of cases where people will talk about solar in a place where it's just not necessary. Also, like another similar thing is like he did a video about like a solar powered smartwatch as well, and this was possibly one such example. and it was a solar power, or it was some smartwatch that it had solar power and also like energy harvesting from kinetic energy and heat energy and stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of
Smartwatch that you never need to charge. Sounds great, right? But the problem is, because of the power budget is so low that it has virtually no smart features of any real use. It was a gimmick as a smartwatch. It could tell the time, but its actual smartwatch features were extremely gimmicky and limited due to its extremely constrained power budget. And basically, for example, in that one, his excuse was, energy harvesting is extremely interesting. You can get energy from all kinds of locations, but the problem is that the energy density is so low that you may as well just use a battery. Like for example, a lot of watches that are like kinetic powered and stuff like that, it's just like, you may as well put a CR2032 in there, because that's going to do like, oh no, I have to change the battery every 5 years, and then it doesn't need to be wound up and you don't need to shake your arm now and then, and it just goes on forever. It's like, imagine a Casio wristwatch that was solar powered kind of thing. It's just like, but a CR2032 is good for like 5 to 10 years in a Casio. Just put a lithium in there. Why bother with all of the elaborate expense of an energy harvesting power source when you could just put a lithium cell in there?
I understand the point of the kinetic recovery watches when they are purely mechanical watches.
And that can be done because it's a fashion thing as well. It's like you've got the mechanical nature of it, all mechanical, no electronic parts or something.
When you've got a quartz in there anyway,
Yeah.
for the actual time telling bit, I'm just like, put a battery in it.
Exactly. So that's usually his argument when he's against like renewable sources and green sources and stuff like that. It's usually because someone is suggesting to use them in a place where it's just not a good idea.
The fact that people were suggesting to replace the tarmac of a car park with some sort of solar capturing thing. Like, the thing that would make sense to me if you wanted to capture solar energy from that was if you were capturing heat. That kind of makes sense. I can see that making sense. You put a mat underneath it and you use a heat exchanger.
Sure.
And you then store the heat energy somehow. Like, I can kind of see that making sense in some semi-convoluted way, just because also heat exchangers are reasonably efficient. But I'm still like, you're not going to get to a heat density that's high enough.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you're in Australia and the tarmac's 110C, and then maybe I can see you doing some sort of molten salt storage.
Yeah. But also, even then, you could also just build a roof that then shelters the things underneath it.
Yeah.
And isn't covered up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem with so many. Yeah.
Or a roof.
Yeah. This is just the worst part, and the reason why he
Then the
keeps
cars are cool as well.
Yeah. The worst part about this, and the reason why he often ends up continually making videos of this ilk, is that these projects keep getting funded. Like every now and then he'll come out with a new Solar Roadways video, which is not necessarily like the original Solar frickin' Roadways, but just, but like some other person who's trying to put solar panels in a road or a pavement or something like that. Similar concept. And he's like, we thought we were all done, but there's another one. Despite everything, despite all of the failed projects, despite the fact that there are several real-life installations of these and none of them have ever produced more power or any real power of any note at all, they're still trying to build them. That's kind of like, that's why it keeps coming up, because they keep trying to build them. And I'm like, do you guys do any research before you start these projects? Like, there's no evidence of this working anywhere, and there are several examples of them being colossal failures, like monumental, lose millions of dollars failures, yet you're still funding someone to try and build another one.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the failure isn't just that someone didn't do it correct. The failure was based on the fact that it's just conceptually a terrible idea. It's just like, oh no, the technology needs more refinement. No, the technology isn't the problem. The concept is bad,
I can't see how that would... Yeah.
Greenwashing just needs a big pot of cash. Yeah, a lot of it is just greenwashing. I would agree with that. That's probably how this stuff gets done. Just greenwashing.
And it's like, I don't... Like, as a concept, I can see how the concept makes sense as a concept. Kind of how you'd think it's a really great idea. Because obviously it's this huge area that people aren't using, blah, 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 blah. But then it's the case of the second you go a step further than that, you're like, oh yeah, but then it will only work for like 2 hours in the day when the sun is at its azimuth. And then if you're in any region that isn't equatorial, it will only work in 3 months of the year. And if we've got any trees near the roads, it then won't work. And then if the roads are really heavily used road, it will mostly be covered by vehicles. So it only works in rural areas. So then it will get really dusty. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't Germany backing out of renewables? Apparently not. Apparently in 2023 they had 50% renewable. They are backing out of nuclear though.
Which
is very much to their detriment, I believe.
Which makes me the big sad.
Like, just look at France, man. Electric's really cheap in France. You know why? Because they got a lot of nuclear. But yeah, Germany's got a major PR problem with nuclear. You know,
same as loads of places. Same as the UK's got.
I was going to say, not that we're any better. Like, have we got any active nuclear at the moment?
Yeah, we've got Sellafield A and B.
Okay.
And Sellafield C got canned.
I was about to say, I thought that.
Sellafield C got canned after £19 billion was paid to EDF.
Thanks.
Because,
you're welcome, France. Yeah.
Because it was a Labour government plan to build it. That's basically the reason I can see for why it got cancelled.
Yeah. And also just, you know, like, probably Greenpeace et al. Are just like, oh, nuclear's dangerous and stuff like that. Shut up. Yeah. But yes. We need more nuclear. It would just solve a lot of problems. But yeah.
Do you know what? It's really friggin' windy right now.
It is.
We're generating 18.85 gigawatts of power from wind.
Damn.
Which is 55% of the UK's current energy requirements.
Damn. Are we storing any of it though? That's the problem.
Although why would we? Because it's only 55%. That means.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess that means that just, you know, the power stations can all spool down to idle.
Yeah.
You know.
We've got only 11.4 coming from gas.
Yeah, because that's yeah.
Apparently, we're exporting a heady 0.07 gigawatts to Norway.
Apparently, Germany delivered electricity to France this year. Really? Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
France had massive issues with its power stations in 2022 and 2023.
Oh, really? So much for me singing the praises of nuclear.
Or every single one of them came due for massive overhaul maintenance
at
the
same time.
year because the government from like 7 or 8 years ago didn't do the maintenance and just rolled it on like 7 or 8 or 9 years on a whole bunch of the plants.
Yeah, this is, well, same problem with us, with our station getting cancelled just out of spite, practically, you know. But by all means, do keep trying with HS2, you know.
Cancelling it?
Well, making up your mind, if nothing else.
Yeah.
You know, just whatever, just please stop wasting so much. Well, anyway, that's another discussion. But yeah, that's an issue because obviously, you know, the career politicians, they don't care about who needs to deal with the powers problem. That's next term's problem, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a major issue. And this came up, like, Real Engineering did a really good video about the reason why Germany has a problem with nuclear at the moment, and also a really good video about the problem with nuclear in general, because the issue is that nuclear is cost effective in the long run, but it's also an extremely long-term, high-risk investment, and in the modern world, when you could do a very long-term, high-risk investment into nuclear, or you could just build a gas-powered station that will just immediately start producing profit and power. It's kind of a no-brainer which you're going to do.
Yeah.
Hence why everyone's gone gas. And like part of the issue is why no one is taking those risks is like you need a government to actually make these long-term high-risk commitments, because the government doesn't need to make money, they just need to build infrastructure. But governments don't want to roll the dice because they want to get elected next year. So then now they don't want to make long-term commitments and high risks because they want to get elected next year. So now they also have ulterior motives, so to speak. And it's just like, so just nothing gets fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pleased to see that.
What is brown coal? Or is this brown coal? Or what is that? I don't know what that is.
I mean, arguably is a incredibly contentious statement for a small section of people. Any coal burning is unacceptable coal burning.
I agree. Yeah.
Given the fact that, we have gas.
Yeah. But by health hazard and deaths, coal is vastly more dangerous and hazardous than nuclear has ever been. I can't remember the numbers, but it's something like the number of deaths attributed to nuclear accidents is like this big, but the number of deaths that can be attributed to pollution and damage done by coal stations is like this big.
It is.
But it's insidious, invisible, and over a long period of time, so no one pays any attention to it. But when a nuclear power station melts down and no one dies, there's a massive freak out. Like, I seem to remember that no one died in Fukushima?
I think there were 13 deaths.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I might be minimising it a bit.
I think there were 13 deaths.
And without
that
wanting...
were directly attributable to the cleanup operation.
Yeah.
And something like 1,000 cases of above average expectancy for cancer in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
But also there was a whole bunch of ecological damage, but it's also kind of a case of there would have been more ecological damage from the gas extraction.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that balancing thing of just...
Without wanting to minimise...
At no point... I think the point as well is the fact of it's not necessarily saying that nuclear is good or that it's green or that it's non-damaging. It is just the case that it is less damaging.
Yes.
It is presently a less damaging option than the others.
Yeah.
So we should be trying to minimise harm and minimise damage.
Yeah. And even then, it only has those impacts at its worst case scenario. Whereas coal has all of these impacts as routine operation.
Yeah.
On its best day, coal is terrible, whereas nuclear is only really terrible on its worst day.
And it's kind of the separate issue is obviously the waste.
But then again, that's not as bad as people make it out to be. The amount of waste that's actually produced is really small.
Yeah, but it's a problem forever.
Yeah. I know you can't do anything.
And a really small problem forever is still a problem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, but it's also the fact of, my point is kind of the fact of, I never want to be seen as saying that nuclear has no problems.
Yes.
Just that it is the least damaging of the options that we have.
Yeah.
And then it's a case of the stage on from that is the fact of certainly voltaic, wind, tidal are a step again towards minimising those damages, minimising those harms.
That's fair.
And
you're right.
it always should be viewed from the perspective of harm and risk minimalisation, mitigation, not from the point of view of, well, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Because perfect is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
None of these are solutions. They're all just a bit better than what we had before.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's a reasonable standpoint to make because, again, I think that nuclear is significantly better than a lot of people make it out to be, etc., etc., etc. But you're right, it is an open loop system, and that will always be a big but in its defence. The fact that it is not a closed loop process. You will have waste that where you cannot do anything with it except bury it.
Yeah.
And that will always, even though, I think. If my memory serves me, the statistics are that if you took all of the high-level nuclear waste, so the scary stuff, the stuff that is nuclear waste and dangerous forever, that will never not be dangerous, if you got all of it, it would only take up the space of an American football field. So it's true that it's there forever, but also there really isn't very much of it. But you're right, it is still an open loop system, and that will always be a critical flaw, and we should always be seeking something better than that. So I agree to that.
Yeah. Sorry, it was just I read what Dave said about a Volcanoe being a cross between a Volvo and a canoe.
I see.
I was like, yes. Although it is a case of, despite seemingly concerted effort of the country, the fact that the emissions per kilowatt hour this year compared to last year, compared to the year before, compared to all time, is lower.
That's good.
So it's kind of a case of, I think,
despite everything, things are getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. We've gone from, on the UK grid, the all-time average over whatever time period the data was for. I can't remember. I think it's the past 25 years, past 30 years, something like that. The all-time average gram CO2 per kilowatt was 280, but last year was 153.
That's a big decrease.
So it's a case of we've nearly halved.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
So it's just a case of there is good progress ultimately.
Yes. Hello, Paige. Hope you're doing well. So what are the net zero goals? I don't know, actually.
I don't know. It's difficult.
Whatever they are, I doubt we'll hit them, but also that's not the point. A lot of goals and targets are not necessarily to hit them, but just to provide an incentive to try and get better. That's the whole thing with like the Paris Accords, I think it is, or something like that, or the Paris Climate Agreement. Like a lot of countries all complained that it was an impossible goal and stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, but also that's not the point. The point is that you're going to try and be better.
Yeah.
And if you make the goal really easy to hit, then everyone will just hit that goal and then stop trying.
Yeah. But it's like,
whereas you need to make it a steep target so people are giving it their all to get as close as they can to it.
It's also just a case of we've found an awful lot of just general improvement in general people's sort of energy usage and energy profiles just through the march of technology. And it's kind of a case of, I say this as someone who is more invested in the improvement. So it's a case of I'm willing to consider reductions in lifestyle and so on to reach those goals.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think you shouldn't make that assumption for other people. But we have seen great improvements through technology. I mean, you look at the kind of the changes in the way about computers and idle power draw, TVs and idle power draw, TVs and on-use power usage.
Yeah.
Lighting as a percentage of power usage. Because we've moved more and more and more over to LED bulbs, we've seen that as a percentage massively reduce, which has meant that the total power, the total power usage has reduced, and just stuff like that. So it's all bits. And whilst I'm not saying that we shouldn't try and do more, it's just a case of we're making progress. We are moving.
It's okay to pat ourselves on the back for heading in the right direction.
Yeah. But it's also a case of people shouldn't try and take personal responsibility for all of it.
Yeah.
Because you look at it on the flip side, and it's like the 10 corporations with the largest CO2 production are greater than like 50% of the global population's CO2 production kind of thing.
Industrial dwarfs personal production by orders of magnitude or something like that. So it's like, but on the flip side, though, it should be a mindset. Yeah. Paige, thank you for the tenner. Grab yourselves a pint on me. Merry Christmas. Much appreciated, Paige. Yourself as well. Have a good one. And and to note on that as well, like I heard it was This analogy was used for a different purpose when I heard it, but it was still a great analogy that's used for just the concept of progress in general. Is if you imagine that the most diehard of us are all standing for 100% sustainability, we're getting on a bus where the end of the line is sustainability, and we're riding with people who are not quite at the same level of us, and they kind of want to get off on an earlier stop than we do, and they might be doing that because they don't believe in they don't want to go all the way to the end, or they're unable to go all the way to the end, and we shouldn't disparage them for not wanting to go all the way to the end. We should be supportive that they're at least heading a bit further toward the same destination as us, and we should focus on making them welcome on the bus, because even if they're going to get off at a stop before we do, they've still moved further in the direction of where we're trying to get to. Which is ultimately going to be better than shunning or pushing people away and risking them not moving at all, or even backtracking.
Which is why as well it's a case of it's important to push those companies. It's important to push the companies. It's important to push policies. It's important to push those things and be unhappy about lack of progress there and so on, as opposed to the individual. Because it's also a case of it's not really up to the individual. A lot of people. I'll make a point in a sec, but also Marcel, thank you for the €10. Merry Christmas. Have no headache on the new year. I promise nothing. Oh dear.
But I'll try my best. Much appreciated. On the individual, like this is kind of the thing with me. Like, I feel like I'm not a huge contributor to stuff because, like, I walk to work and I try to save power where possible and things like that. But also, like, me walking to work isn't a big sacrifice. It's just the fact that I live less than a mile from work, and it would actually be more hassle for me to drive to work because I would be in the car for about 30 seconds and I would then need to find somewhere to park my car. So, like,
but
I'm doing my bit, but I'm not going to pat myself on the back because I'm doing it because I have the convenience of that. And if someone doesn't have that convenience factor because their job is far away and they have to drive there, like, I'm not going to say they should upend their life. They're kind of tied into that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, my car is not, I drive a Subaru Twin Turbo that is probably terrible on emissions, but it's a weekend toy that gets driven literally every other weekend. So, like, that's okay. Whereas if I were commuting, I would not be driving that car. That would be irresponsible to drive that car as a commuter car, knowing that it's got terrible efficiency.
Yeah. My comment as well for so much of it is about the fact of I have absolutely no problem with people who are buying second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand, fifth-hand, sixth-hand, seventh-hand cars. I have no problem with people who aren't looking to replace their vehicle.
True, because it's reducing production of new products.
Because, first of all, if you're not replacing it because you don't need to, great, fine, not a problem.
Yeah.
If you're buying it second-hand, well, you're buying from the market that's available. If you're buying new, that's where I have more of a question, more of a consideration, more of a concern.
Yeah.
Certainly around the unwillingness to purchase, better vehicles in a sense of less damaging vehicles by way of production, by way of fueling, by way of, impact, total chain impact and things like that. That's where I have more of a problem. Just because also if you're buying a new vehicle, as a generalisation, certainly in the UK, certainly in large parts of Western Europe, I'll get my geography right, you've probably got more money than most.
Yeah.
Because you're buying a new car.
Yeah.
And most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people can't. And if you've got the money to buy a new car, you probably also got a house that has designated parking.
Yeah. So at that point, arguably, you have an obligation to buy responsibly.
And it's just a case of
you're
buying more responsibly is more possible for you.
Yeah. If you're in a position where you're able to buy, then that also means you probably are in a position where you're able to take responsibility. And if you're able to take responsibility, then there's an argument that you are obliged to be responsible, broadly speaking. But yeah. Mike's Unboxing, thank you very much for the 20 quid. Much appreciated, my dude. Have a Merry Christmas as well.
It's kind of that's kind of where I sit on that. It's just a case of those who can and those who afford to, and those who can afford to have more of a obligation to.
Yeah.
Because when the consideration is, do I do the more ethically sourced thing or starve, the option is eat.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not going to tell someone to choose between eating sufficiently and making some sort of moral highbrow decision.
Yeah.
Screw that.
That's it. You know, you can't...
Your decision is
eating. Yeah, you can't place this onus on the poor when, etc., etc.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, Dave says net zero makes no sense if China burns to produce. Yes and no. I agree that this is definitely a frustration that we're doing our hardest and making sacrifices, etc., while China just doesn't give a shit. However, also, but also this is whataboutism. Just because someone else is doing the bad thing doesn't mean that we are free to do the bad thing as well. You know, if anything, it just means that we should take responsibility and continue to mount pressure on others to take responsibility as well.
Yeah.
And that's a complicated problem with China.
Yeah. Also, to view that thing of any progress is progress, China stopped building coal-fired power stations.
Ah, yeah.
They stopped building coal-fired power stations. They've started replacing some of them with gas-powered ones. Sure, it's still burning stuff, but it's burning better stuff.
Yeah. It's less awful.
It's that thing of any progress is progress.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that we don't get hung up on, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But it's still burning.
Just because China is getting off at the next bus stop when we want to go all the way there doesn't mean that we may as well not get on the bus at all, you know.
Yeah. And it's kind of all of the above, you know. And it's also just a fact of if we as individuals show that we are interested in things that has a lower impact, or doing things to reduce impact, then people become more interested in that. It's like the thing with post-consumer recycled plastic. Recycled plastic currently costs more. Excuse me. Currently costs more than virgin plastic to go through the cycle.
Yeah.
But also can sell for less because people don't want it. But as Coke bottles, containers,
vessels,
swapped over to being more post-consumer recycled plastic, as some packing swapped over, suddenly the demand was there for recycled stuff, and the price that recycled plastic could be sold for started ticking upwards. So it actually started becoming worthwhile to recycle it, because the price actually started ticking upwards. And it's a case of, if as a purchasing power, you know, as an economy, you start demonstrating that the recycled goods are at least equally as desired, or no one considers it or cares, therefore you might as well make it from the recycled thing, then that ticks up its value, and it starts becoming economically viable to do it, as well as just credentially viable.
We've got to start somewhere.
So it's kind of that thing.
With anything, you need to invest in it, and there's going to be an upfront cost and a period of losses before it becomes worthwhile. But something. The best time to plant an apple tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You know. So Andy Green, thank you very much for the tenner. Merry Christmas as well, much appreciated. So yes, get yourself a cider each and have a cracking Christmas. Will do. Thanks much, Lee.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't remember who it was, but it was some car manufacturing company wanted to make all of their batteries from recycled material.
That's very noble.
The problem was, not enough batteries were failing to get recycled. Not enough batteries were failing or needing to be replaced for them to get enough batteries for them to recycle them to make their batteries.
Oh, that's interesting.
There was an insufficient failure rate. They were lasting too long and surviving too well, so they
Yeah.
couldn't make them all from recycled material.
Yeah.
So I had to go, shit.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that process, or it's interesting that as a concept is alive, because like the issue of dead batteries piling up over time, that's something that's an inevitability.
Yeah.
We will get to the point where there will be a lot of failed batteries.
Yeah, there are
So
a couple of companies that are
it's good to know
claiming
that. Yeah.
something like 90% recoverability of raw materials in battery packs.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Something like 90%.
Yeah. Like I hope that works out to be true.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, one of the biggest, when people are anti-EV and stuff, they're like sort of, oh, there's going to be all these useless batteries lying around, blah, blah, blah. If you can recover 90% of them, that's bloody good.
Yeah. That's 90% of the material from each one.
Yeah.
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 It's like, so if that is the case that we're at presently, then it's just kind of a case of, that is a good position for us to be in.
Yeah.
Because obviously that then makes it significantly more possible for, say 75% of the material in new batteries to be pre-loved for it to actually be recycled.
Very good.
And it's just like, in 5 years' time, maybe we'll be at 92%.
Yeah. I think the future is here. I think we're going to wrap up in a minute because we're past the 3-hour mark. But one of the things I really want, I'm incredibly sad, and I need to badger my dad with questions to see if he can remember the name of a book that I had when I was a kid. I had a book when I was a kid that was like it was an educational picture book that had lots of sciencey stuff in it.
Oh, cool.
And it had a section on like sort of electric cars, the vehicle of the future, and like this book was from the early 90s kind of thing, and it had a section in it that described like a vision of the future where someone would drive their electric car into a recharge station, and it showed the car comes in and it has like robotic arm pushes puts new battery into the side of the car, pushing the old expended battery out the side to go, which will then be carried away, recharged to be put into the next car.
Yeah.
And like obviously that apparently hasn't happened.
That's what Neo does.
We currently recharge our cars, but then the other day I saw a Tom Scott video about Neo where they were literally driving in.
Oh, has Tom Scott done one about it? Cool.
He did it because I didn't know about them, and I saw
cool.
his video, and they showed how they now have this driving station where you drive in and it changes the battery out in your car, and then that battery gets recharged to put into the next car. And I'm just like, the future was now as predicted in this. Like, obviously, this book thought that we were going to have like a 12-volt battery. It was literally like a 12-volt car battery. Obviously, that's not going to power a car.
Yeah.
But the concept, it was bang on the money, and the future is now. And I watched that video and I was like, obviously we don't know whether that's actually how it's going to shake out, because right now most EVs, you don't change the battery in your ownership of the car's lifetime, really.
Yeah.
However, it still proves the point that the future is now.
Oh, absolutely.
And I thought that was really cool.
It's certainly an interesting solution to kind of the what I'll call the China and USA problem. Just because obviously China and the USA are such big expanses that even if you have 500, 600, 700 kilometer ranges,
you can't drive across the country.
That's not actually that much as a percentage of country coverage. But it's obviously the case of, with that as well, my comment an awful lot of the time with electric vehicles is, well, you still need to stop and pee.
Yeah. And like
it's 6 or 1/2 dozen of
as long as we're building good cars that actually have fast charging, because with modern fast charging you can dump a lot of power into a car in the time it's going to take you to go into the service station, have a pee and get a coffee.
But it's also the case of, obviously, with like Neo, you can swap the battery and it's a minute or two. But
from the 90s must have been influenced by Sinclair's work. He was there in the 80s with electric transport. Yeah, probably. Yep. But yeah, I need to ask my dad and say, like, this is a real long shot, but can you remember this book? Do you still have it? Because I would like nothing more than to find that book and go through it again. Because if it's this is the book that was aimed at kids but taught you about how electricity flow was actually free electrons and stuff like that. And is one of the reasons why I had such a keen interest in electrical engineering, and why, despite having no formal education, I knew about electron flow from when I was in single-digit ages.
Yeah.
And like in school, when we were taught about electricity, and the teacher was just like, "Does anyone know why the light bulb lights up?" I stuck up my hand and said, "It's because free electrons are flowing from the cathode to the anode." And she was just like, "The wire gets warm," you know. So yeah, and that was the book that told me that, and I'm like, I want to find that book again because it was brilliant, and it's amazing how on point it was.
I remember getting completely het up in like prep school science on dissolved oxygen.
Was it How Things Work? Maybe. I'm going to Google that, Gordon Brand. Keep going.
On dissolved oxygen versus atomically bonded oxygen to hydrogen in water, and I couldn't separate the two in my head. So I could not understand that fish and so on were removing the dissolved oxygen from the water, not splitting the atoms to get the oxygen molecule out. And I was like, but what do they do with the spare hydrogen? Where does the proton go? And the teacher was like, the fuck? What are you on about?
Bitch, I don't know.
I just couldn't understand that it was dissolved oxygen in the water, not splitting the sodding atom. I was like, fish split the atom? Fish are nuclear reactors?
You might be right, Gordon. I've just Googled that, and How Things Work, that doesn't look familiar, but there's also one, David Macaulay, The Way Things Work. That rings a bell. There's also a How Things Work hardcover here, Parker Lafferty. That might be something like that. I'm going to Google search this. You might have given me enough to work with here. I'll have to do some Googling and like see if there's any previews. Like if I see just 1 or 2 pages from it, I'll probably be like, yeah, that's it. That's the one. However, you've definitely given me something to work with there. I think that might be it. I remember being bullied because I said classroom computer crashed. Kids laughed and told me it wasn't a car. Oh man, that's well harsh. You're very valid, Paige. So yeah. Right, when am I next twitching? I will be twitching all the time because I can't sit still. However, also I will be streaming... That wasn't that good.
Okay.
It's not a drugs reference. I will be streaming games on Twitch tomorrow at 7 PM UK time. As referred to earlier on, I'm going to be streaming Link's Awakening HD. So that will be cool. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to wrap up because I need the bathroom. So, yeah. Have you guys seen Criosan English? A bunch of Ukrainian Russian guys' channel. They do tech-related stuff, but also exploring. They're visiting nuclear reactor sites with cheap AliExpress motors. I see. I'm not familiar with it.
Very well.
But sounds cool.
Very well.
Right, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're going to wrap up, and thank you very much for the super chats. It's greatly appreciated. We'll be back in the new year. We won't be on next Saturday because that's New Year's Eve, I think, isn't it?
Maybe.
Or approximately.
I don't know. We'll next be here something like the 8th of January.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It'll be the first Saturday of January, which I think is going to be the 8th. Something like that. Yeah, so we'll be skipping at least a week. Yeah, I think it's what?
Oh no, 6th. Sorry, 6th.
Yeah, that sounds more likely, yeah. Yeah, so 6th of Jan we'll be back. So we won't be here next week. We'll be here the week after that with something else. And have yourselves a good old Christmas. If you want to hear more of my stupid voice, I'll be on Twitch tomorrow. And that's it, everyone. I've enjoyed this conversation in English.
As have I.
Thank you
for
and
being
Merry Christmas.
Here.
Yeah.
Have yourselves a merry period and a festive something.
Happy holidays. Yeah. All right, I'm going to do the thing and hit stop streaming now.
Excellent.
Yeah, do it.
Possibly, if it is your bag, have some festive treats.
Okay. Bye. Live streaming isn't available right now. Oh no!
Help! We've been signed out.
Why are you like this? I have to verify in order to stop the stream.
I have to verify that I am in fact me.
It's okay. I foresaw this and made sure I was logged into LastPass. Okay, now we're gone. End stream. Bye. Now would be a good time to insert